Strap into your seats and get ready. It's time for the Mortarpod.
Hey, this is Alex from SeemsGoodMagic.com. Welcome to this week's episode of the Mortarpod. Jake and I are still going through the Gatecrash creatures, and we're comparing them to Return to Ravnica. We've been doing that the last few weeks now. It's a little bit slow going, but we're really finding a lot of stuff out, I think, and really preparing ourselves for full block drafts. I want to remind you that Mortarpod is brought to you by SeemsGoodMagic.com. If you haven't been there yet, check out our webpage, full of draft videos and full of other content as well. We've started live streaming. We have a set time. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Time. And if you want to know exactly when we're live streaming or when we put up new content, follow us on Twitter at SeemsGoodMagic. I really recommend you do that. You can see whenever we've put up new stuff. So it's really beneficial for that. It's also, this podcast is brought to you by VarenCamp.com. Scott Varenkamp designed SeemsGoodMagic.com, and I like to give a shout out to him because he did such a great job. So if you like the way our website looks, go to VarenCamp.com, and that's VerenKamp.com. So check that out. So enjoy this week's installment. We're going to be wrapping up creatures soon enough, I'm sure. All right, see you later.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Alex and Jake here, and just catching you up on what we're doing. We're reviewing the Gatecrash creatures, and we're comparing them to Return to Ravnica.
Yep.
And so far, discovered quite a bit of stuff about what guilds. Like, the main point of this is we're trying to establish each color and how it corresponds with Return to Ravnica. So, for example, we'll take a look at each monocolor as a whole. Like, we'll look at all the red creatures in Gatecrash as a whole at the end and be like, this works really well with this guild in Return to Ravnica.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we'll say if it's better with, like, Rakdos or Izzet for red, for example. The reason that's important is the full block's going to be drafted Dragon's Maze into Gatecrash into Return to Ravnica. So you want to be preparing your deck for your Return to Ravnica pack in like your Gatecrash creatures, and you want to be keeping that in mind while you're drafting the Gatecrash pack. So that's why it's important, and that's why we're talking about it now for this. All right, so we're going to start with we left off at green, so we're going to do green, multicolor, and then artifact, and we're going to do a wrap up of each guild at the end if we have time. Might have to do it next weekend, but we'll see what we can get done today. So starting it off with Adaptive Snapjaw. This is a 4 and a green 6/2 lizard beast with evolve. So all the Simic creatures have a unique creature type. Do we know what all of them are again?
Lizard beast, crocodile frog, human ooze, drake lizard, lizard drake.
And then what's the shamble shark again?
Fish crab.
Fish crab.
Yeah.
That one's good.
Mm-hmm. It's the best.
It's all about the fish crabs. Adaptive Snap.
I came down with fish crab.
Yeah, it sounds like an STD.
Yeah,
right?
it does.
Okay. But Adaptive Snapjaw is actually a really good card. He looks underwhelming because he's a 5 mana, 2 toughness creature. But the reason that he's good, he evolves everything. So he works really well in his own guild. But additionally, he's just really strong with, there's just random cards that are really strong with him. Like, if you put a Madcap skills on him, he's sick.
Yeah.
Sapphire Drake is the one that is probably the best with him. It's a 6-drop, 4/4 flyer where each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it gains flying.
Mm-hmm.
So then he's on turn 6, he's a 7/3 flyer, which is really strong.
Yeah, but like every creature evolves him practically because of his 2 toughness. So even a Croconaur Afterin would evolve him, you know. So it's just he's really good for having evolved because of his 2 toughness. And I've seen people get him to 8-4,
Yeah.
like maybe even 9-5.
Yeah, it's really sick. I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever seen 9.5, but I've certainly seen 8.4. I think, what is it about Snapjaw? He goes late. I think that's why he's so good.
hmm
He's not super exciting because he's a 5-drop, and you're usually not too, hard up to find 5-drops. But he goes late, and I think he's a really good card in Simic, because Simic can get some damage in early, or they can be a late game strategy with enough creatures. So I like Snapjaw, and I think it usually goes like 6th to 8th pick sometimes, maybe even later than that, 6th to 10th pick. All right, so the
He's
next,
good.
yeah, he is. He's good. Next card's Krakenura. This is 2 and a green for a 1/3 Crocodile Frog with Reach and Evolve. Really important card. It kind of looks on the surface like it functions like a giant spider, but the reason that it's so much better is it turns into your win con like mid-game. Once you get it to the point where it's like a 3-5 or a 4-6, it starts to just beat them down and take the game over. And I think a lot of people have caught on to that because Krakenura is pretty early pick now. He's a card you definitely just want to slam and like defend with. And even if he, walks into a trick or anything, he's still like cheap enough for what he does where that's not a big deal. The fact that he stops the flyers too, he just really is a great card for his strategy. Blocks the world, then he gets bigger, then he gets to beat in late game. So,
and as a common, there's a chance you could pick up a couple.
That's where we've had like 3 and just been super happy. And I guess the thing about Evolve that you do have to keep in mind is you want to have a bunch of different types of creatures, or at least different types of creature power and toughness.
It makes sense because there's no need to evolve if like everyone around you is already the same as you.
It's so good flavorfully.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I like it, but it's an early pick, no doubt. Okay, the next card is Crowned Ceratok, 3 and a green, 4/3 Rhino with Trample. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has Trample. Good card. I like it. We've played it a lot. 4 drops, also not too difficult to pick up in drafts, and you don't want to have too many of them, but this one is certainly a worthwhile one.
Yeah.
4 mana, 4 power. It evolves stuff. It's playable. The reason it's awesome in both guilds that it's on color with in Gatecrash. I mean,
Trample's relevant for Blood Rush and
+1/+1 counter is good with Simic. Yeah, definitely. And actually, it works well with random cards like Burst of Strength in this format too. So then you could attack in with something, and they block with a 1. They'll block your like 5/4.
Your big guy.
Yeah, let's say you're Zertos one. You attack in, they block with like a 1/1. You Burst of Strength when you have Crowned Ceratok out.
And get to deal
Gets
5
bigger,
damage to him.
Gets bigger and it tramples over. So there's like cool stuff that this card can do.
Yeah.
We should compare this card for what it's going to bring to Return to Ravnica.
It's good in Golgari.
Yeah, it is.
With Scavenge.
This would be an excellent creature to scavenge onto. Plus, anything you do scavenge onto suddenly gains trample.
Well, it lets you diversify. Like, you can have a 4/3 and then something like, you could have your Drudge Beetle that you scavenged something else onto. Once that dies, you can scavenge onto something else. It's just a really good strategy to reuse everything and still have the trample threat out,
It's really good. I'm sure it's playable in Selesnya as well, as there is the Common Bond. So Common Bond would work really well with this. You could do some like the same situation before with like the Burst Strength. That would be pretty good. Is there anything else that gives counters in Selesnya? Maybe not.
I don't think there is, but Common Bond's a very good one.
And that's a common card too, right? So
this card has a lot of good functions in this block.
In both guilds of Return to Ravnica.
It's probably a much better card in full block.
Cool. Good to know. It's good now in Triple Gatecrash. Okay, Disciple of the Old Ways is the next card. 1 and a green for a 2/2 human warrior. It has red. Disciple of the Old Ways gains first strike until end of turn. I like this card. It's a great attacker. It's a great blocker in Gruul. We've played it in Rug, where you can still use the ability, and I've even played it as just a 2-mana 2/2, and it's okay. You know, I mean, 2-mana 2/2s are,
Sometimes you need a Grizzly Bear.
yeah, sometimes you do. If you're short on 2-drop creatures, so if you're not playing the red, go for it. It's
Yeah.
cool. I feel like it's going to be less useful in full block, because I don't know though, because I feel, well, maybe it's just a bear, I guess, but like you're not going to get rewarded for anything in Return to Ravnica playing with this, unless you're in like a, if you have a 3-color thing going, then I guess you could.
You could be Rakdos Gruul, and it could be going there, you know.
Yeah.
And just focus on like the red.
I think just in general, 2-mana 2/2s, they're gonna be playable,
Yeah.
even if you can't use their ability. So it does have that going for it. In terms of where it comes in the picking order, what do you think? Maybe like 5th, or
Yeah, I'd say if everything like that's first pickable or whatever is plucked out of the pack, this is like up there. I'm trying to think of what cards specifically I'd pick over it. Never removal, probably, if I was on color with it. I'd pick it over combat tricks if I was short on creatures already. I don't know what else I'd pick it over.
Yeah, I think I'd pick it over combat
I'd
tricks.
pick it over late game creatures if it was early in the draft too, I think. Because like you say, you can always pick up the late game creatures, and it's true. You can always pick up the 5+ drops, but the 2 drops go very quickly.
Yeah. Alright, the next card's Experiment 1. 1 green for a 1/1 human ooze with Evolve, and it also has remove 2+1/+1 counters from it, and you get to regenerate it. And it's an uncommon. It's a great card. We've played it. Usually you get it, I mean, if you slam it on turn 1, you get to turn it into a 3/3 usually. I think we had a deck where it was like 3 Cloudfin Raptors in an Experiment 1. So you had the potential to live the dream of like Cloudfin Raptor, Experiment 1, Shamble Shark or something.
Yeah.
I guess Shamble Shark wouldn't
fit into that curve, but still.
Yeah.
It would pump the Cloudfin and the
Yeah.
Experiment one.
Yeah. I mean, Krakenuru would work too.
True.
So you have a lot of options. This card's really strong. Just the cheap evolved creatures in general, obviously good in a 40-card deck. You know, you have a good chance to get it on turn 1. Cloudfin Raptor has a great strategy on its own. In Dimir even, it doesn't matter if you're getting it huge, it just wants to wear Cypher and start doing things. So it's good. And Experiment 1 is good too. And I think it's a fairly high pick. Probably like maybe 3rd to 6th pick. Something like that. Maybe
6th?
it's possible.
If it's opening pack, I'd pick it upwards. Like, I probably would think it would be gone by 4th pick.
Do you, what if you had a choice between this and a Cloudfin Raptor?
Between the two?
I think I go Raptor. And even and Raptor's that common. I think I would go Raptor. Just because I think the flying on it's that important. And turning it into a 2/3 on, after 2 evolves is really good.
Yeah. I could get behind that, I suppose.
But Experiment 1's, what do you think about his regenerate ability? I find it's really strange.
I think it's like,
in case of a combat trick, he can like at least survive it.
yeah, the flavor of it is like he's like building up more ooze or something, and then with the +1/+1 counters, and then he just like sheds the parts of him that are
Damaged. I could see that.
I could see that.
But I mean, what do you think about his?
It's a terrible it doesn't play right the way you want in combat.
Yeah.
That's for sure. If it was, I'm trying to think of how they could do it.
I can see where its purpose is, though. If you have it as a 3/3, and let's say you attack into like a 2/3, and then they burst of strength and block, at least your Experiment 1 survives. So it plays well into combat tricks. Like if they Martial Glory or something, then you're like, all right, screw it, my guy will live.
Yeah.
So it's like an out if they have something that's
If
going to
things
screw
go
him.
awry.
Or even like removal on him or something. If they Orzhov charm him, they
True,
don't lose
true.
the life, but you get to keep him. So
Do they lose the life? They don't?
they wouldn't lose the 3, I don't
Oh,
think.
they'd lose
Because
like
you'd have to
1.
put the regeneration shield on them. They'd only lose 1 instead of 3. But still, you get to keep your guy.
Yeah.
And they'd be down an Orzhov charm.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a good ability. I think that's pretty much it, though. Like Jake said, doesn't work well for combat. Because you want it to like deal damage and then you can
Yeah, and
or
then
something.
regenerate. It's not paying the mana cost. It's not Wolfear Avenger. You know, like, that's a good one for combat.
Mhm.
But this one it works well because in the early stages you get to get in with it. It can, like, defend later, you know. And it always re-evolves once you start regenerating it. That's the good thing about it.
Yeah, and it's going to be good with like Golgari. Because you can scavenge on it and you have
that's
more
very true.
more opportunities to regen.
And actually, it's a really good target for scavenge because it can just use those counters. So you can literally put all of your scavenge creatures onto it and not really feel afraid of it. Unless they have, like, they're in white and have Angelic Edict or Tristani's Judgment.
So probably better with Golgari
Mm-hmm.
over Selesnya.
I would
Still
say.
fine in Selesnya, but
Yeah.
better with Golgari. Alright, Giant Adaphage is the next card. So this is 5 and 2 green for a 7/7 insect with trample. And when it deals combat damage to a player, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of Giant Adaphage. That's going to be cool with Populate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Giant Adaphage is a really strong mythic. I've lost to it before. We've played it a couple times. Unfortunately, never to the point where I've...
Won with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
know.
it does
I
suck.
feel the same way.
But in terms of, do you windmill slam it on pack one, pick one? Maybe, Jake, do you want to expound on that?
I forgot what I said last time. We were talking about this earlier, and I forgot what I had said. It's
versus like a 2-drop piece of removal. Do you want the 7-drop bomb, or do you want the what about, okay, let's say pit fight and Giant Adaphage are in the same
Well,
thing.
I'd want the pit fight for sure.
Pack one, pick one?
The thing
Okay.
that we had talked about, I think, and decided on was you can do a ramp deck in Gatecrash, but do you really want to go like out the gates for it? And
yeah.
I think we just decided no. You know, it's
that's
something that you
the
can
deck
get
you
moved
audible into. Yeah.
Like, there's so many key runes that go around and verdant havens that go around that you can pick those up late enough to where you can still make the deck later in the draft. So is this something you want to pick up right away? No, because removal's never coming back around. You know, you get 7 people between you and that pack again.
Mm-hmm.
The chances of seeing that same removal spell are very slim. So I think that you want to let this go if it's pack one, pick one, and if there's really good, and I think we had talked about good uncommons, stuff like that. True Fire Paladin is one that I noted.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I want that aggression more.
How about like Wojak Halberdier and Giant Adaphage? Pack one, pick one.
If there was nothing else in the pack,
yeah,
and I'm really surprised.
Those would be the two.
I'm really surprised that there's no other good cards in that pack.
I've seen some empty packs before.
I'd take Wojak Halberdiers.
Okay, so I think what we're establishing here is pack one, pick one. It's important to try and do a more aggressive deck.
Yeah.
Because in draft, aggressive is what's gonna. Sometimes you just can play 2-drops with your 40-card deck. It's better to be consistently aggressive, I think. Just putting pressure on your opponent early in draft, sometimes they just can't handle that. If they drafted too many 4-drops, they drafted too many 3-drops, but not enough 2-drops, you can just swarm some people out, and there's nothing they can do about it. And it's not like you have to be avoiding sweepers, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. The other thing about it is, do you want a 7-drop in your opening hand or a 2-drop in your opening hand, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, how many... You can pick up other good, expensive creatures later, is what it comes down to. There's still Adapted Snapjaw is something I would consider right in the realm of possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you were green. Out of Gruul Ruination Worm, which still kills Giant Adaphage in combat.
But they get another token.
Only if you don't have, like I would be attacking in, and I would assume that because mine came out turn 6 and theirs came out turn 7, they'd be on the ropes already.
Oh, I see.
You know.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
So, yeah, I just don't think it's a first pick card. You can pick up better or like on par stuff.
And the ramp deck is fine. It's just you have to kind of decide, by the end of pack 1 or the middle of pack 2, kind of what you're going to have to do. It's usually by the end of pack 2, you should have decided if you're going for the mid-range strategy or if you're going to just try and, like, the mid-range strategy is more resilience. You just want to be able to survive, so then you can just be like fatty, 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 and then they can't deal with it anymore. But that's not like the direction you want to go immediately.
No, you don't. You don't.
Okay. Next card's Greenside Watcher. 1 and a green for a 2/1 elf druid, and it has untap target gate. Interesting card. Usually it's hard to get it going because draft decks typically don't have more than like 2 gates in it, I feel like. I mean, I've seen more, but it's much more common that you have like 2 gates in your deck. So it's difficult to get them online sometimes. That being said, there's also good synergies with him, like Verdant Haven on a gate. I've had that, and then you have access to 4 mana, which is really good. So Greenside Watcher does have some perks. He's also a 2 mana, 2/1. What are your feelings about it, Jake?
He's okay. I'd rather have Disciple over it, I suppose.
Really?
If I didn't have the gates, just because 2 toughness can be more relevant. But he still serves a purpose as a 2-drop and something that can kill other creatures in combat. He's not terrible. You just need gates.
And it's nice that he like randomly trades with like a Wojak Halberdier or Skinbrand Goblin if they're just trying to aggro you down.
Yeah, or like dissuades them from attacking with their Skyjack. So like it's a good response to a lot of Boros 2-drops that would kill your 2 toughness Disciple anyway.
Yeah, and also like in the Skinbrand Goblin situation, even if they use a Blood Rush card to keep their Skinbrand Goblin around, you feel
won that trade.
Yeah. If they use they wouldn't, like if they ever use a Slaughterhorn, like I've seen people
really waste
Blood Rush creatures that would have been much better served just coming onto the battlefield.
Yeah, if you were going to trade a creature for him, why would you trade your better creature for him? Like that's what Blood Rush comes down to.
Yeah. So don't do that.
Yeah.
But Greenside Watcher, it actually goes mid-pick. It's not a super highly prized card, typically. So you can find it maybe 5th and 8th pick, or something like that, I would say. Decent card. Gyre Sage is the next one. 1 and a green for a 1/2 Elf Druid with Evolve, and it has tap, add green to your mana pool for each +1/+1 counter on it. And it's a rare. I like Gyre Sage. What do you think?
That's cool.
We've played it a couple times. I've had some cool situations with it. I don't know. It's just 2-drop evolve creature. This one is probably one of my favorites. It lets you have lets you play higher mana cost creatures in your deck. Like we were just talking about, Adaphage probably isn't a windmill slam pick. Primordials are the same way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You see them like 3rd and 4th pick.
We've let Molten go and seen it come back around to us. Like they go even later than 3rd or 4th pick.
And some Primordials, that's another, I guess that is a perk of being in the mid-range deck, is like all of a sudden you're randomly past your 7-drop and you're like, well, sweet, this is like what kind of deck we are anyway. So you can pick up the Luminate Primordial and like eat one of their bomb creatures and have a 4/7. Have a little Elish Norn out there.
Yeah. Mini Norn.
They both have Vigilance too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They did kind of make it like Elish Norn, didn't they?
They pretty much did. I mean, they're the same mana cost too, so...
It's strange.
They've had 4/7 Vigilance before.
In white?
Yeah.
What?
Jovel Queen, but I think it was 6 mana. It was just a 4/7 Vigilance, so they had 1 more mana for extra effect.
It's a pretty powerful extra effect, too. So Gyre Sage is good. I like it. I mean, rare, so you're not going to see it too much, and it's also going to be early picked by anybody in green, as it's both playable in Gruul because they have a lot of high mana cost creatures that also have Blood Rush, so it's good to have those options. But like Ruination Worm specifically, getting to slam that plus evolving your Gyre Sage would be cool.
And Gyre Sage gets big.
But also obviously good in Simic because it just evolves like crazy. It's only got 1 power. So it's good. It's going to be, I would recommend it, and I certainly think it's first pickable. Like, if you had a first pick between Shamble Shark or Gyre Sage, I would definitely take the Gyre Sage.
Mm-hmm.
So it's better than a lot of other evolved creatures.
Yeah.
Ivy Lane Denizen, 3 and a green for a 2/3 elf warrior. Whenever another green creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. I think we've said it's the best Denizen.
Yeah.
What do you think about this one?
I guess I like it. It's the best Denizen. I don't know what else I can say about it, really. I mean, pumping your team is always good. Just pumping him after casting a bigger guy at 5 mana is really good. Like, I mean, you can follow him up with pretty much anything at 5 or 4 and pump him to a 3/4 and have a good enough guy left back.
That
So,
is
like,
a good reason. Yeah.
just the next 2 cards there in our list. You know, Rust Scarab, Scab Clan Charger. If you followed Ivy Lane up with either one of those, it'd be like, oh, I have a 3/4 and this guy, 2/4 or 4/5. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So he is just hands down the best one right now, and I don't really foresee that changing. I guess once Return comes out, Sage's Row is too limited a strategy. It's good, and I still think it's like probably second or third, you know, after Court Street. But Court Street might actually get better with Eyes in the Sky being around and stuff like that.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Or just
populate
yeah.
generally, yeah.
Wait, what color are the centaurs that V2Gazi produces? I think
Those
they're
are
just green.
Okay.
Okay.
But there's also night tokens off of the Charm, night off of Night Watch, night off of Security Blockade. So there's like tons of other ways to get white tokens in Return to Ravnica too. So just I don't know. I do still think he's the best.
And actually, there's random stuff that it's just sick with in Simic, because you can be like, if you have Zamek Guildmage out, you can just be using. Oh, it's so sick, actually. It's like every time you play a green creature, you pretty much get to draw a card. And if you have a Fathom Mage and an Ivy Lane Denizen, that's obviously a really sick engine too.
Yep.
It's like it really just keeps fueling itself, essentially.
You just have to stack it correctly, and you can put the Evolve on to resolve first, so that even if the creature, if putting the +1/+1 counter makes it tied with the creature that just came out, then you want to do the Evolve trigger resolve.
So you could really draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
Which is really sick. But also just Crown Ceratok, which we just talked about. Think about that with this card, you know?
And that's actually
suddenly
really
giving
good.
a creature trample, making it bigger.
Just putting it on the Denizen, you know?
Yeah.
3/4
Suddenly it's a 3/4 trample.
And this one's a 4/3 trample.
Or even if you want to put it on your Ceratok to make it a 5/4 trampler, it's like, that's still good. But also Sapphire Drake. It's like, this into your, you get your Sapphire Drake, and suddenly this thing can fly, and it's a 3. So it's just really good with Simic. And
Ivy Lane is the best, most versatile, probably too.
Definitely, it's a really strong effect. It really is. I think it just takes games over. It's another one of those reasons, if you're playing like a Simic deck that just wants to go late, say you're like the Krakenura deck, it's sick to sit behind like a Krakenura and Ivy Lane and just build, and your army gets huge. So then you just like can pull out a Gridlock and win. Which in my last draft video, I went up against Gridlock Simic, and Gridlock Simic is just so strong sometimes. So brutal. You have to like play around it, and you have to play around it really intelligently too. You really have to like force them to tap your guys down and then play a creature, or else you're in big trouble. And in my case, it like saved me. I needed it. It was a really close match.
Yeah, that's a hard card to play around too.
It is. It really was. All right, the next card's Rust Scarab, 4 and a green, 4/5 insect. Whenever it becomes blocked, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. I like Rust Scarab a lot. It's a really awesome 5-drop. It's probably one of the better ones in triple Gatecrash. How do I think it's going to stack up in full block? I still think it'll be really good, because key runes and the auras in this block are actually really strong too. How do you feel about Rust Scarab?
It's good. I always like this card. I maybe like it more than other people even. I guess the 5 mana should push me away from it, but I just really like this card. 4/5 for 5 is pretty strong, and then the effect is good too. There's a lot of enchantments and artifacts in this block.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it really dissuades them from blocking. It evolves like everything.
Mm-hmm. Plays well in both the strategies and Gatecrash.
Yeah,
And actually,
plays well with Blood Rush as well. Because
Mhm.
maybe if they have a good, like, if they have like a Gift of Orzhova or something they really don't want to lose, they're not likely to block
Yeah.
Scarab. So then maybe you can Blood Rush after it's not blocked, get in for even more damage,
Yeah,
like Wrecking Ogre or something.
yeah. It's just a really strong effect, I think.
So Rust Scarab's cool. I like it. And I think it's going to continue to see some play. What were the auras from Return to Ravnica that anybody had to worry about? There are, Ethereal Armor.
Yeah.
So you can take care of that,
Night Watch
potentially.
is
Actually,
annoying, too.
Ethereal Armor in particular is very good, because even if they had something that had enough power to block Rust Scarab, they wouldn't be able to block Rust Scarab.
Yeah, because they just destroy the Ethereal
You would destroy
Armor.
it before
That's
the first
actually a
strike.
really good counter to it, yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Rust Scarab's great.
Pursuit of
Flight.
Pursuit of
Deviant
Flight.
Glee, I guess, to an extent.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I like Rust Scarab. I think it's good. It probably goes like 5th to 8th pick maybe or something like that. Maybe a little bit earlier. I'm not sure. It's a pretty efficiently costed creature, reasonably efficient for its ability as well. I like it. Alright, Scab Clan Charger is next. 3 and a green for a 2/4 Centaur Warrior. Is it the only Centaur on the format?
In Gatecrash?
In Gatecrash.
It might be.
I think so. Centaur Warrior, 1 and a green, discard it, and target attacking creature gets +2/+4 until end of turn. Yeah, it's got Blood Rush. So Scab Clan Charger is a good card. You can usually get it mid-pick. It's good in Simic, because the 4 toughness evolves a lot of things. It's obviously good in Gruul, because it gives a massive toughness boost. So it's just good if they're defending, you know, it really saves your creature at the very least. How do you feel about this in like multiples? Do you think you could play this infinitely simply because it's a combat trick, or would you really not want more than like 2?
I think 2 is a good number. Usually we end up upgrading them even.
I feel like that's true. So why do you think that is? Like what are 4-drops that are better than it?
Well, Idoling's probably first one that comes to my mind, but also Ceratok Charger and stuff like that. Or Crown Ceratok.
Yeah. So you wouldn't ever cut like a 2-drop over it or anything?
I doubt it.
There's no 2-drop that'd be worth cutting for it?
Sorry. Can you excuse me for a sec? Or do you want to pause it?
Alright,
Okay.
so we left off on Scab Clan Charger. The next we're doing Scarred Goliath. This is 6 and 2 green for a 9/9 beast with trample, and it has Blood Rush, so it gives the creature +9/+9 and trample. Very strong card, but usually not an early pick. It is 8 mana, which is extremely expensive, and the Blood Rush is 7, which is also expensive. I've lost to this card in Limited. I haven't really played it too much.
I haven't ever gotten a chance to play it, actually.
It goes actually pretty late because 8 mana is so obscene. I've never actually seen it cast onto the battlefield. I've only seen it Blood Rush because 7 mana is so difficult to get to anyway. But +9/+9 and trample is extremely strong. Sure, there's going to be some applications for this. And if you're in like the Axebane Guardian deck, in Return to Ravnica if you get enough of those, but you only have 1 pack to build that, so that deck was really only viable, I would say, in triple Return to Ravnica. But so Scarred Goliath you can get late, and I would say it's worth getting late. Like if you see it 8th or 9th pick, consider it maybe, because 7 mana is possible, and it's a strong ability, a strong effect to do, and it's uncounterable.
Yeah.
So it's okay, but it's pretty low on the picking order. Otherwise,
It suffers from the same thing Giant Adaphage does. Too expensive and easy to pick up large creatures.
Okay, Slaughterhorn is the next one. 2 and a green for a 3/2 beast, and it has Blood Rush for 1 green, so they get +3/+2. Slaughterhorn's a cool card, and we've played this because it's a 3-drop 3/2. Trades with a reasonable amount of stuff. I like it a lot, and I think it's pretty aggressive, which is what the Blood Rush deck really wants. So it's good as just like a giant growth occasionally, but it's also good as just an attacker. So I think you can play Slaughterhorns pretty infinitely.
Yeah,
It never really feels that clunky because you always can do something with it. So I like it. And how do you feel? Where do you feel like it's picked most of the time? Do you feel like it's picked super early, or do
No, I think it's more of a mid pick. I think there's a lot of stuff that's better than this.
Yeah, we should name some like examples of cards that close picks to Slaughterhorn that we'd have a hard time picking. Like, what are some really good tricks? Like, if you were in Simic and you saw Slaughterhorn and you saw Rapid Hybridization, which would you take?
That is a good choice. I'd probably pick the Rapid Hybridization. Just
Because there's more
I can-
applications.
Yeah. It's like a counter to my opponent's removal potentially, or it just shuts them out of a giant creature. I think it's a little more versatile, but that is a tough choice.
Yeah.
And it would really depend on what my deck needed at the time, too, I suppose.
But I think you're right. I think I'm inclined to agree with that. And I feel like this card's actually pretty good in Simic too, though, because 3 power can evolve some stuff like Krakenura, and it evolves a lot of stuff, actually. A lot of the cheap evolve creatures. So I guess it doesn't evolve Adaptive Snapjaw, but as one of the few creatures. But that's cool. And Slaughterhorn's good. Trades with a lot of stuff. Next we have Spire Tracer. This is 1 green for a 1/1 Elf Scout, and can't be blocked except by creatures with flying or reach. This card's really funny because there is an actual limited strategy that I've seen maybe 2 or 3 times. The Spire Tracer.
Forced adaptation deck.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't like that deck. I don't think it's very good. But I have lost to it. I'll admit. What do you think about Spire Tracer in Gruul if you have enough Blood Rush to support it? When does it become
Spire Tracer, but
when does it become playable? Like, at what point are you like, I should play this Spire Tracer? I have enough Blood Rush to support it. Like 8 Blood Rush?
I think
10?
it's probably better in full block draft, where you have access to auras, a lot more auras that do stuff. I guess Pursuit of Flight on this or something like that.
Yeah. What about, is there any good equipment? I've seen Riot Gear played with it. It's okay.
Yeah. It's only 2/3.
It's not exciting, but it's okay.
For equipment.
Civic Saber to only
really
boost it
great.
once? No. So you're more like auras, I guess.
But in full block, you have a much better flying suite, too.
Gruul with Madcap, this is really strong, because then it's just flying and reach, and they have to have 2 of them. So then it's getting in for 4. It's probably one of the best 1-drops you can have with Madcap skills, I would say. Maybe, it's probably the best, I guess. So if you already have 3 Madcap skills, you could probably consider Spire Tracer. Actually, I would say if you had 2 Madcap skills, you could probably consider Spire Tracer a little bit better. But I've sided out of I've had 2 Madcap skills decks where I've just sideboard right out of them. If you're playing against that Orzhov deck with like 3 Executioner Charms and like 2 Devour Fleshes, just toss those Madcap skills. They're not going to do you anything but get you 2 for 1. So you'd much rather just play more creatures and just have more stuff that he has to kill, that he has to get through. That's what I say. You don't want to play auras against the removal dot deck. And actually, the removal dot deck I feel like hardly existed in Triple Return to Ravnica. The removal dot deck is seriously like a Gatecrash phenomena in this block because of how phenomenal the removal is. And
it's off single-handed.
do you remember talking about that maybe like 2 or 3 podcasts ago when we were going over the removal, like how much better Gatecrash removal was?
But how frustrating would your day be in Return to Ravnica if your opponent was detaining your permanents half the time and then outright removing them the other half of the time? You know, it'd just be annoying.
It is annoying.
Yeah. It really is in Ortov to play against that deck.
Yeah, it's a crazy deck. It's really strong. They have so many cheap pieces of removal. It's actually insane. Like, and with Extort especially, they only need like one Extort creature to really capitalize hard. But Spire Tracer goes super late. I've seen it probably 14th pick, honestly. It does
go late.
It goes extremely late. So you're never like, and I would say don't audible into that deck early. Do it late if you in a pinch. If you end up with like 3/4 adaptations or something.
Yeah.
And you think you can make that work. Sometimes you can. Next is Sylvan Primordial. It's 5 and 2 green. Avatar. So this Primordial, part of the cycle. It has reach, and when it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, destroy target non-creature permanent that player controls, and for each permanent destroyed this way, search your library for a force card and put it onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. How do you rank this amongst all Primordials?
It's the best for EDH. But for limited, it's probably tied for third with Sepulchral, I guess.
Yeah, I think I'd almost want Sepulchral more.
Yeah.
I think so. But this does block the world. I mean,
yeah. And then it
eight
swings
toughness
for
reach.
6.
Swings for 6, so it beats down. It's like Vorinclex. What was he?
Well, he was 7/6, I think, for 8.
Oh, okay. Did he have reach too?
No, he had trample.
Oh, wow.
Pretty
I'm
sure.
thinking of a different creature than I think. Has there been any other 6/8 reachers? Mayhaps not.
Maybe not.
But Sylvan Primordial.
Oh, there's Chancellor of the
Tangle
that was 6/7, I think.
But it had reach?
Yeah.
I think that's what I was thinking of.
Vigilance reach, even, I think.
Ooh. Saucy.
Yeah.
That's way better. But Primordial's cool. Like he said, very good in EDH. Very cool card in EDH. Also, sure way to get everyone pissed off.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll just destroy your land, your land, your land, your land.
And it's
I get 4
it's non-creature permanent, so
Yeah.
your Planeswalker, your enchantment,
But
your artifact.
and actually, it's fine if you're in the ramp deck. If you've already been forced into the ramp deck and get past the Sylvan Primordial, it can do some work. It can randomly take care of auras for you. Takes care of their splash. It's okay.
It's good. I like it.
It's cool. You're gonna see it mid-pick fairly late, I would say. As will most of the 7 drops. I think the Primordials typically go probably 5th to 8th pick or something like that. They're like mid-picks.
Yeah.
Wasteland Viper is a 1-mana 1/2 snake with Death Touch and Blood Rush. This is a cool card, and I always end up picking something over it, I feel like. But I have played it before. Where do you like it most? I guess it's pretty cool with Gruul.
It's probably... Really?
I think it is cool with Gruul.
It's okay with Gruul. I feel like it's really good with Simic, though. Because, like, a card like Croconura, they have to double block it a lot of times to kill it if you're attacking with it as a 4/6 or whatever.
So getting the Death Touch is just sick.
Yeah. If they think, oh, I'm going to survive this, and it's like,
I liked it in Gruul because just as a 1-mana 1/2, which is already good, by the way. And this is like another example of instead of a 1-mana 1/1, it's a 1-mana 1/2 now. So I guess that's actually pretty cool that they gave it the extra toughness.
Yeah.
Doesn't that surprise you a little bit?
It does a little bit.
Me, it does, because Typhoid Rats from Innistrad is like an example.
Rats, it's black. This is a green creature.
Yeah, it should be better.
Most
but it already
creatures.
Yeah, you're right. But even as a 1-mana 1/1 with Death Touch Blood Rush, it would already have more than Typhoid Rats. This additionally has an extra toughness.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like pushing to me, it's pushing the limits a little bit. Not pushing.
It's not too aggressive, though.
No, absolutely not. I'm just saying in terms of value in a creature, there's a lot in this card. I feel like it's 3 perks for 1 mana.
Yeah, definitely.
So I like it quite a bit. I feel like it was pretty early too, actually, because it's a 1-drop, and actually a relevant one because it eats fatties like ruination worms and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I like it a lot for that, just as a rattlesnake card, sort of.
Yeah, and it's probably really good against Simic because it can stop they have to like question their attacks. Then eating like a 4/3 Shamble Shark, you'll be happy to like, yeah, no problem. So Viper's good. Guess not so good against First Strike, but still pretty good.
So not best against Boros, but.
Well, I guess that's all the green creatures. So overall, what did we think? Did we think Golgari or Selesnya was going to be more the path when you're thinking about your green creatures?
Well, there's something to be said about both of them because of populate, and the one power or 1 toughness evolve guys in green. Selesnya could actually work. Then 1 Courser's Accord double pumps your Croconura, or 1 Courser's Accord double pumps, I guess, Shamble Shark, which we haven't gotten to, but, I do think it's more likely that you want to go Golgari, but there is something to be said about the Selesnya strategy there, too. Plus the Common Bond thing that you had mentioned with +1/+1 counters on, Zamet Guildmage.
Or Sapphire Drake and
Sapphire
Bam
Drake.
or something.
Yeah. Yep. And Ceratok. So there's a place for both, but I do think it is Golgari that benefits more.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to the multicolored creatures. I'm going to start it off with Alms Beast. This is a rare. 2 colorless, black and a white, 6/6 beast, and creatures blocking or blocked by Alms Beast have lifelink. I played this my first real life paper Magic draft of Gatecrash, and I had Holy Mantle, and I got that on with him.
Nice.
And it was really sick.
Yeah.
It was really fast. It was turn 5 too. I remember that.
Yeah. The best thing about that is you could even block with the Alms Beast, and it doesn't matter that they have lifelink because it prevents all the damage to him.
Yeah, you're right.
So if you were in a position where you needed a blocker too.
Yeah, I just attacked twice.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
It was over. It was like, oh, okay. Especially since it's in extort colors, so then I just toast. But I've had situations where we've had. Do you remember that situation? We've like really we've punished opponents for Alms Beast before. Do you remember like Ruination Worm like blocking? I swear there was a time where we had Pit Fight and we had a Ruination Worm and then there was an Alms Beast and we were like gonna trade, gain the lifelink, Pit Fight something.
Oh yeah.
Gain 7 life, kill that, trade.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can abuse Alms Beast.
Yeah, Alms Beast isn't too great against Gruul like that if you've got the Pit Fight going, because even then there's got to be other plays that you can do too to make it even worse. But I don't know. Alms Beast versus Gruul for fear of Pit Fight is kind of dicey.
But Pit Fight's a common, but that's like a super high pick. I think Pit Fight's first couple picks. If you ever get like the triple Pit Fight deck, we've had that, and that is just out of control with like the evolve strategy. I like it most in Simic actually, but I can see how it's really good with Blood Rush too. If it's like unblocked, Blood Rush, fight that. It's really good.
That is actually really good too.
It's like Scab Clan Charger, Pit Fight. So yeah, it's good, definitely. But Alms Beast, definitely good. I mean, you can't argue a 4-mana 6/6, and it's actually in colors where 4-mana 6/6 you don't see it very often. Like Orzhov doesn't have terribly efficient creatures, do they?
Not usually. I mean,
the white aspect of it would, but I think the black aspect of it actually they did kind of take that into account when they were making the creatures.
They're not none of them are like over the mana cost, or like Kingpin's Pet 2/2 for 3. That's like a Windbreak, High Priest of Penance, a 1/1 with the ability is 2 mana. I mean, probably the best creatures are Obzedat and Alms Beast as far as efficiency goes.
I would say. Okay. Cartel Aristocrat is the next card, another Orzhov card. Black and a white for a 2/2 human advisor. Sacrifice another creature. Cartel Aristocrat gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Cool card because it made constructed for the aristocrats.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to explain how that deck worked a little bit? Do you know?
It played Souls, and I think it played like
Doom
Artist.
Traveler,
Yeah,
Blood Artist.
and just sack outlets to gain value.
Yeah, it was a cool deck though. Did it do like Gravecrawler too? For some reason, I feel like it did.
I think it did, but I could be wrong about that.
It's possible. But Sam Black designed that deck, and it did very well. It had Falcon Wrath Aristocrat in it as well. Cool deck. But Cartel Aristocrat, we don't get an opportunity to play with it very often, do we?
Mm-hmm.
We have played it, and we've actually beaten opponents, I think, because of it. Like, do you remember, maybe it was Undercity Informer instead, but we had a sack outlet and someone tried to Hands of Binding a creature. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And we, like, sacked the creature in response, fizzled the Hands of Binding, and that was, like, enough to take the game over.
Yeah.
For some reason, we, like,
I
valued...
think it was Cartel Aristocrat.
There was a... Yeah, I think you're right. It was, like, important... It was more important for us to fizzle his Hands of Binding than it was to have that creature around, I think. Because he would have had a guy that...
Could just keep getting in then.
Yeah.
No, I think it was really important to fizzle the hands. And this was before he got the chance to cipher it, so it wasn't like he was recasting it off of hitting us with cipher.
Mm-hmm.
We were stopping the initial cast, which counters it completely, so the cipher part doesn't even get to resolve. Because the one target the spell had is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, it's a key play, I think, to counter those cipher spells when you can. And it wasn't, if he was going to keep it tapped down every turn, what were we going to, like, do but get rid of it, you know, and, like, stop him from doing that. So I think it was the right play.
Yeah, so it randomly does cool stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it also works well with, what else would it work well with? Like removal spells, maybe? Like pit fights and stuff?
Yeah.
But I guess that'd be a weird, like, color combination if you're doing...
Oh, you want to say, like, works well with them?
But Active Treason is actually one that's a good 3-part guild that you can do. 3-color, not guild, but 3-color combination that you can do.
Yeah.
And then you can play Active Treason with Cartel Aristocrat to just, like, take them out, you know? So I like that quite a bit. And but it's uncommon, and you really don't see it that often. But it is a cool card, and it works well alongside other stuff. I'd probably still take an Undercity Informer over it because there's more applications. It's less color intensive. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Undercity Informer is just also its own win condition. Cartel Aristocrat requires a little bit more to build around to make it work really well. I mean, it's great to have a sack outlet, but I think Undercity Informer can win a game, whereas Cartel Aristocrat is just a bear most of the time.
Alright, Death Pact Angel, next card. 3 colorless, white, 2 black. So 6 mana, 5/5 Angel with flying. When it dies, put a 1/1 white and black clear creature token onto the battlefield, and it has the mana cost of Death Pact Angel, sack this creature, return a card named Death Pact Angel from your graveyard to the battlefield. So basically it just recycles itself via a cleric where you have to pay the mana cost again. It's a cool idea. I actually like the idea of this card, the flavor of it. It kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah. Kind of wish the Angel had Vigilance or some other ability.
And that's true. It's still good enough in my opinion to first pick. I think it's 6 mana is like any deck, even a 16 land deck can top out at 6 mana and still get there. So for that reason, I do think this is almost always a pack one, pick one. I think the ability is strong enough because not only is it an efficiently costed flyer, it renews itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I've definitely won with it. I've played it. I like it a lot. What do you think? Would you rather have like a pit fight over it or something? I could see some people arguing that for sure. And maybe if you're on the pro tour, I don't know.
This thing is such a house when it comes down.
I feel like it's strong enough where I would want it over a pit fight probably. I really think it's that strong. Not just because it's a mythic. I think 5/5.
It's very strong. 6-drop 5/5 flyer is good.
And it's in color, on color with the extort mechanic. So,
And a lot of the best removals, so.
Yeah, you have a lot of support for it.
Mm-hmm. I think it's good,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it's bad to first pick it.
Neither do I. Over relevant removal even.
Mm-hmm.
What about Orzhov Charm versus Deathback Angel?
Probably still pick the Angel. I mean, they can't remove it with Orzhov Charm, really.
Well, not.
They
can't.
can take 5 damage and
That's a
give
good
me
point.
a cleric.
That's a good point. All right, High Priest of Penance is a 1 white and a black, so it's a 2-drop 1/1 human cleric, and whenever it is dealt damage, you may destroy target non-land permanent, and it's a rare.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cool card in limited. I feel like there was a time that High Priest of Penance won us the game, where
Yeah, because our opponent, I think,
couldn't attack
misread
in.
it. No, I think he attacked in or whatever and misread it as whenever it deals or a source deals damage to it, permanent source, destroy that permanent. But we get to choose a target permanent to destroy. So it was like, we want to get rid of the best thing you got.
Yeah, I think we just got a really good 2-for-1 off of it
Mm-hmm.
one time. But it's surprising that we killed something else with it. It must have been a 1 toughness thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if that happened or not. Maybe it was just as a mini Vindicate or a Maelstrom Pulse, I guess, since it's non-land. And that's also an interesting thing to know about this card. They must have been scared of some sort of land destruction.
Well, you can deal damage to it, you know. You can play something like Rolling Templar.
So using that as land destruction would be too good.
Don't you think? Like, play this on turn 2, and then turn 3, I'll log the board and I'll destroy your land.
You know, that's actually not that bad for constructed. No,
that's what I'm saying.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Are there any other pingers? Little pings.
Ping.
Staff and Nin would
Yeah.
be cool with this.
A way to make it indestructible or give it more toughness would be really what you want.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's a good point. But High Priest, if you're an Orzhov, very good pick. It's awesome, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Extort is your guild's way of beating your opponent, and this blocks pretty much like anything you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even First Striker. Think about it. Even blocks a First Striker and then kills it.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a really good card. Kingpin's Pet. It's the next card. This is probably my favorite. I think this is like the most important card if you're an Orzhov. Right alongside Basilica's Creature. But 1 colorless, a white and a black for a 2/2 Thrall, flying Thrall with Extort. Just a great card. If you can get multiples of it, you should be really happy. It's very efficiently costed. The evasion's great, so it gets to get in a lot of the time. And being able to deal combat damage plus Extort is like just a very fast clock.
Mm-hmm.
Very efficient, fast clock. It lets you race. So they need to have means to block him. But even if they do have means to block him, you're still extorting with him. So
yeah.
Just such an important card. Would you pick a Screecher or a Kingpin's Pet first pick?
In the same pack?
Yeah.
Probably the Screecher.
Now, it might seem like an interesting choice to you, but I think I'm actually agreeing with that. Because it's 2-drop, it does have less power, but it doesn't commit you to 2 colors, and it rewards you for for either guild.
Yeah, Dimir or Tub.
Like, Dimir Screecher is just probably...
With Cypher?
I think Screecher is actually better in Dimir than it is or just as good in Dimir as it is in Orzhov.
Cypher really makes it.
Yeah. Cypher with, if you don't know already, Cypher with Extort is insane. Because you cast your Cypher spell, you extort that. Then you Cypher onto a creature, attack with the creature, get in, recast the spells, extort that, just stacks Extort like over and over again. It's really good. It's actually insane. And you don't get to see it too often in Limited because a lot of the Extort spells are in blue, or the Cypher spells are in blue.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to be drafting Orzhov cards that have Extort. So you're really limited to black Extort spells if you just want to do Dimir.
Mm-hmm.
Which leaves you with Thrall Parasite, Screecher, Syndicate, Enforcer.
Ugh, which is not good.
Is that it?
Yeah,
That might be it.
I think that is it.
And so really, you're usually playing Esper when you do it. But yeah, alternatively, I've played Shadow Slice in just the straight Orzhov deck and been like,
Yeah, Shadow Slice is amazing if you got the
on Kingpin's Pet,
and
yeah,
Orzhov.
it's just,
Or Basilicus.
no, it's just insane. It's so good. So I like that a lot. And in my last video, I actually just cleaned up with Shadow Slice. Like it was like, oh, I guess I lose. Oh, Shadow Slice on the top, I win.
Yeah.
It was really one of those. It was like, oh, he's at 3. That's right, you're dead. So Shadow Slice I love how swingy it is the turn you play it, because
It's 6 damage if you have
It's
somebody
yeah.
that can get through.
it's usually like
So it's like
8.
better than
Death
Lava
Cult
Axe.
Rogue,
Yeah.
I've put it on multiple times and
Yeah.
just been
It's
extremely happy.
more like 8 damage when you play it.
It's really good. I like it a lot. And also, I mean, it should be noted, the problem with Cypher, obviously you're still setting yourself up to be 2 for 1. But
To
the
an
nice thing,
extent.
but it's not really a 2 for 1. It's probably more like a 1.5 for 1. Because you still
You're just playing a shitty spell in the first place, but you can get it multiple times. So it's like it becomes less shitty the more times you get it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they stop you from getting it the second time, then yeah, it's not the greatest thing, but you still were able to get something from it.
Mm-hmm. So, Kingpin's Pet, one of the best
It's a high pick, yeah.
one of the best Orzhov commons, definitely. Obsidat is a card I've had the pleasure of drafting many times, probably 6 or 7 times online already. I've opened 0 Aurelia the War Leaders, but I've opened probably 6 Obsidats. So
I don't understand that Aurelia. I haven't seen her once either.
Actually, I haven't seen Aurelia real life or
Yeah.
online, so she's definitely a mythic. She is mythic.
Mm-hmm.
Very mythic rare. But so is Obsidat, and he is a 5 mana. He's 1 colorless, 2 white, 2 black, 5/5 Spirit Advisor. An interesting creature type. When he enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 2, you gain 2, and at the beginning of your end step, you can exile him. And if you do, return to the battlefield it's under its owner's control at the beginning of your next upkeep. So it dodges all sorcery speed removal, dodges sweepers. It constantly is draining them for 2, and it's a 5 mana 5/5 Spirit Advisor. Super strong card. It's a legend, obviously, but I don't know what else to say about Obsidat. It's seen some constructed play, I'm pretty sure. I don't know how it couldn't be. But
I think it is.
I think my problem with it was that it didn't have any sort of like trample or first strike. It's just sort of just a 5/5.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that you just keep draining them, we've killed opponents in draft with that before.
I've played it in constructed in like a Esper control build.
And
I
you
played
do
it
like it?
against Esper control.
And
They
then-
didn't counter it when I played it, and so I just didn't attack with it because I was afraid of Azorius Charm, and I killed him with it that way.
Just
you know?
kept draining them every
Yeah.
turn. That's sweet. Yeah, and think how well it plays alongside Supreme Verdict.
Mm-hmm.
It's like play it, exile it.
Well, they can't even supreme it out, So
Yeah.
if you don't give them the opportunity to kill it with anything,
Oh, yeah,
but
I guess
Azorius
I
Charm,
guess you can't play
you can't
alongside.
supreme verdict it.
No, I
but-
guess you can't. So that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Were you playing Supreme Verdict in that deck still?
Yeah, but I mean,
You
it
just
was
have to pick
it
and
was a
choose.
control matchup, so it wasn't like I was
Do you sideboard into it, or do you main deck it?
supreme.
Obsidian.
I think I main deck it.
Okay. How many? 2?
One or two. I don't remember exactly.
You don't have that deck anymore?
I don't know. I still have it. I just don't play it that much.
Yeah. But yeah, Obsidian has 16 tickets online right now, which is just insane. So obviously, even if you're not on color with it, anytime you see Obsidian, slam him.
Mhm.
But you don't want to play against him either. He's really strong. Obsidian is very strong. Treasury Thrall, next card, 4 colorless, a white and a black for a 4/4 Thrall with Extort, and when it attacks, you may return target artifact, creature, or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. Played it a couple times. I think it's actually less powerful than I originally believed it to be. Would
Cool.
you agree or disagree with that?
Has to attack. It's cool.
What do you mean it has
It's
to
just-
attack? Oh, it has to attack to get to the...
Yeah, to get the effect that you want, but
And 4/4 for 6 is
pretty lackluster.
yeah, I mean, and it's got Extort. They put enough abilities on it, and it's definitely going to be an early pick. It's just not as game-breaking as I first thought it was going to be. Getting stuff back, I mean, you don't get to get stuff back the turn you play it, and you only really, even getting stuff back with it, sometimes it's still not worth it to attack if it's just going to die to like a Rust Scarab or something, you know?
And it only brings it to your hand. You still have to replay it. It's not like it brings it out to the board.
Yeah, so this card actually is clunky despite all the abilities it
All the
has
things
wrapped
going
into
for it.
one. Yeah.
The 4/4 is just really sad too.
Yeah, it's sad when a 4/4 is not very good,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know what to say. Treasury Thrall, we've
Should've been
probably
cheaper.
gotten it 3rd to 5th pick.
Mm.
You can see it, definitely. Maybe, probably not later than that, but it's a card. It's definitely playable. I would say if you're Orzhov, it's definitely playable. It's a strong ability, but there's times where, like against Gruul or mid-range decks that have fatties, where it's not going to do enough. It's not going to do what you want it to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be like a 6-mana 4/4 thing that trades.
Yeah.
Vizkopa Confessor is the next card. This is a 3 colorless, a white and a black for a 1/3 human cleric with Extort. When it enters the battlefield, pay any amount of life. Target opponent reveals that many cards from his or her hand. You choose one of them and exile it. Really cool card. I underrated this card when I first saw it. It actually is really good. And a lot of times opponents will even lava axe themselves to just take the best card out of an opponent's hand. The nice thing is you pay 1 life, they discard a card. That's not bad either.
Yeah.
So it's actually like it's a good card. I guess it comes off as expensive, but the fact that Extort like still plays well with it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of Confessor?
I like it. I think it works well. It has Extort on itself too, so I don't know. It's just a good enough card for sure. In limited, it's getting one of the last 3 or 4 cards out of their hand usually. You know.
And I guess that's a good point. By the time you play it when it's at 5 mana, they should only have like 3 cards in your hand. So chances are you're probably going to lightning bolt yourself, but you're going to get the best card out of their hand. I've had it be devastating against me, and I've had it like, because think about it, you're also gaining the info of their hand, so you get to like play around tricks if you want to steal a better bomb card out of their hand, you know. And the key is that it exiles and that it exiles lands.
Yeah.
So even if they just have a land left, you exile that. And that's actually pretty rare, believe it or not, to discard spells in general. A lot of time, targeted discard
doesn't let you do land.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Why do you think that is? Because
well, usually they're much cheaper too. At 5 mana, your opponent shouldn't be in fear of not having a land necessarily.
Another card that that was expensive that did hit lands was the what's the 2 and 2 black and it puts 2 cards from their hand on top of their library.
Agonizing Memories.
Yeah. I always thought that card was really good too.
Yeah, it's pretty obnoxious.
Kind of time walks them a couple turns.
Yeah.
But not really.
It is. It is like that. I mean, early enough, it can be really devastating. And that was first released at a time when Dark Ritual was around.
Oh, wow.
So it could be turn 2, put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library.
If they were desperate for a land or something, could be. So, Confessor, pretty good. Like, it's hard to evaluate multicolor spells in the full block. Just because
there's several different guilds that they can merge with.
But are there any cards in particular, I guess, from Return to Ravnica that stand out that would work well with this? Is there anything that lets you, in Return to Ravnica, that lets you look at your opponent's hand?
Probably be in blue if there was.
Or
black, I guess.
Can't think of anything that lets you see your opponent's hand. But it'd be kind of nice to know ahead of time before you play.
Search Warrant. And then you could gain life equal to the number of cards. I think it's gain life equal to the number of cards in target, or a target player reveals his or her hand and you gain life equal to the number of cards there.
Oh yeah, and it's I'm looking it up now. It's white and
blue.
Oh, that's right. Target player reveals their hand, you gain life equal to the number of cards in that player's hand. Hilarious. Yeah, this usually goes 15th pick too, so I guess it works in Esper.
It actually kind of works well together too.
Yeah, because
You gain
the life that
life,
you're...
yeah. Continue. Viscopa
It's not that
Guildmage,
great, and it's probably not going to happen, but
Yeah.
it's cool. Viscopa Guildmage is the next one. White and a black for a 2-mana. Sorry, my cat's snoring behind me here. Alright, it's a 2-mana, 2/2 human wizard. One colorless, a white and a black. Gains lifelink. And one colorless, a white and a black. Whenever you gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life. Kill combo and constructed with...
what is it? Exquisite Blood.
Exquisite Blood.
Yeah.
Why don't you explain how that works, Jake?
So you activate the second ability. Whenever you gain life this turn, each opponent loses that life. And as long as you either gain life that turn, if you have Exquisite Blood out, as long as you gain life or your opponent loses life, it just creates an infinite loop that kills it. But it's 5 mana to get the Exquisite Blood online. Then you have to activate this ability.
Then you have to deal damage to them.
Or gain life.
I see. So...
It's a lot of hoops to jump through.
It is. But it's actually... Yeah, it's good enough, though. It's cool.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody do it in Constructed. I think it's too slow. But it's cool that exists. As far as Viscopa Guildmage and Limited, excellent Guildmage. I like it very much.
Mm.
It's more narrow. I kind of felt like... I think I said this in a previous podcast. I like the Return to Ravnica Guildmages more than the Gatecrash Guildmages. I feel like the Return to Ravnica ones were all more versatile.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of all of them. Vitu-Ghazi Guildmage, obviously the best one. But even the Azorius one, I liked that it could incapacitate stuff, but giving cheap flying was good. The Golgari one was just insane. It gave Intimidate. It let you sack creatures when they removed them and get creatures. That's sick. What are we missing? Rakdos was obviously limited to its guild, but for its guild it was insane. So all of those guild mages.
And even Izzet was okay for...
Oh, I forgot about the Izzet. Izzet was the worst one.
But it was still okay.
Yes.
It wasn't better than the ones in Gatecrash, however. I don't think.
No. I think but we did say Nivix Guildmage was going to get better with full block, and I still believe that. Because Nivix Guildmage teaming up with the cheap, you'll have access to all 10 charms, but also you've got
Cypher. You can copy the Cypher triggered spell off of it. Oh wow! Yeah.
Oh my god!
For 4 mana, you can always get double Cypher every turn.
That's really sick.
Yeah.
So Nivix Guildmage is just going to be way better, I think. Because there's also Pit Fight that's on color with them.
Yeah.
So you can be 6 mana, 2 Pit Fights or something. I don't know. I could see that.
There's some things you can do for sure, and that's Simic Izzet Gruul, so that's something you could do for sure.
I mean, you don't even have to. You could specifically do it. Izzet with Frostburn Weird or something.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're not going to be one guild in this next.
No.
In full block.
I'm just saying, Pit Fight could play into a straight Izzet deck.
Yeah.
You know, with Nivix Guildmage. But I'm sure there's other removal too, even Mugging. Obviously Mugging. And there was nothing like Mugging in Return to Ravnica, if I recall. Was there any 1 mana? Just Trickery. But let's face it, one's not the same as 2. So Nivix, I think, is getting way better. And Viscopa is the card we were just talking about. I think it's probably one of the weaker guild mages, but still really good. Which tells you that overall the guild mages are a sweet cycle. So did you say you like Nivix more or less than Viscopa?
I think Nivix is still the worst guild mage probably, as far as versatility. It really more often than not will only be drawing you cards.
And paying 3 for a looter effect is, I think, a little too expensive. Alternatively, you can do it multiple times a turn, which is kind of cool. And you don't get that very commonly. But Viscopa, it's going to be cool if you got a Trostani, but is there anything else that has life gain in Return to Ravnica that I'm not thinking of?
I'm sure there are.
I can't think of any. I'm going to look it up real quick because I'm kind of curious. I think this might be valuable information. So we'll return to Ravnica, and I'll type in lifelink.
Train Caracal.
Is that really it? I feel like it should be more than that. Not what I looked up, actually, as a matter of fact. Train Caracal, Daggerdrome, Imp, Stonefair Crocodile, Rakdos, Ragemonk. All of the lifelink creatures. So, are there...
Daggerdrome and Train Caracal are on color.
Stonefair doesn't feel... No, Stonefair does the same thing like Guildmage does.
Yeah.
So that's not even necessary. Daggerdrome, I guess is cool. If you scavenge,
Yeah.
then you just have to use the second Vizcopa ability, you know?
Daggerdrome, I think, just works well with Extort. Like this Basilicus creature and Kingpin's Pet.
Oh yeah. And actually it's gonna work really well with Cypher too, because it flies. So Imp's gonna be an important card. But anyway, so Vizcopa I guess isn't gonna be hooked up too much with lifelink creatures in Return to Ravnica, but it's still, I've had it do ridiculous amounts of damage. Wasn't there a time we abused this with Alms Beast? I feel like against an Alms Beast, you can really do some nasty stuff
Just
with.
give the Alms Beast lifelink. Or what?
I was gonna say, the creature's blocking his Alms Beast, then you do whenever you gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life.
So, if your opponent has an Alms Beast, is what you're saying?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Against an Alms Beast,
Yeah.
I've done that before. I have to pee real quick. Do you want to talk about Van Alley Broker? I'll be right back.
Yeah, sir. Alright. So, Bane Alley Broker is the quintessential looter effect in Gatecrash. 3 mana, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 colorless, 0/3 human rogue. Tap to draw a card, then exile a card from your hand face down. You can look at cards exiled with Bane Alley Broker, and then you can pay a blue, a black, and tap it to return a card exiled with it to its owner's hand. This card's really important for not only Dimir, but if you're splashing into green, or if you're splashing into black, alternatively, I suppose, from Simic. 0/3 is relevant for Extort, and then the draw discard is obviously just relevant to cycle through your deck and find the best cards available to you at the time. The best part about this looter is that you don't reveal what you're getting rid of, and your opponent, even when or if they kill your Bane Alley Broker, you never reveal what you got rid of. So you can always keep it a secret. Are you ditching extra lands? Are you just putting cards down there to return later that are bigger threats later on? So the return a card is actually a pretty relevant ability too. We had done a Chaos draft in real life last week, and I had Bane Alley Broker with Galvanic Alchemist. Chaos is where you just have a bunch of different packs, so I used that to great effect.
That's sick. You could just keep on tapping it, and
I drew 3 cards in one turn.
And the fact that you get to exile them with Bane Alley Broker.
Mm-hmm.
Did you already talk about that? How good it is to return them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I remember one game, and it's cool because you get to online, you get to look at the cards underneath it that it's exiled, And what's cool is like I've seen a game where I've had like 7 lands underneath the Bane Alley Broker, and you're like, God, you did so much work.
Yeah.
Just filters like half the land in your deck out. I've seriously had it do that before too, so it's really cool for that. How did you rank it on like picking? Do you think it's like?
I think it's high enough if you're already in the colors.
How about like in terms of first pick?
I wouldn't first pick it, but it would be up there if I saw it in like 3rd or 4th pick range, and I was already blue or black, because it's a decent splash too. I mean, it just requires Prism or a Guildgate to really make it splash into something.
It's a strange power toughness. Really is. Because it looks like the chick could brawl.
Yeah.
But
She's holding multiple knives. I think we discussed that. She's like pedaling one, and she's got one strapped to her arm, but she can't deal any damage.
wait, weren't we talking about the sexism of the cards? We were saying, oh, because it's a woman, you
Yeah.
made the. Or
Like,
I think when Morgan was here, we were talking about like that. And they like underpower.
oh yeah,
They like
underpower the women.
they underpower women
Wild
cards.
Beastmaster. It's like, yeah, you're so wild. 1/1 for 3.
But they only broke her. It's like woman 0-3. You know,
Yeah.
it's a little bit weak. But all right, consuming aberration next. 3 colorless, blue and a black for a star horror. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your opponent's graveyard, and whenever you cast a spell, grind, or which is the blue-black, each opponent reveals cards from the top of his or her library until they reveal a land card. Put those cards in his or her graveyard. Obviously, that's like a theme of the Dimir cards. Additionally, alongside the Cipher, they have this sort of grind effect on their cards. And some are more powerful than others. Some aren't quite grind. So they've done some strange things. For example,
I think they decided that it worked best as a mix between mill a certain number
yeah,
and grind.
because Grizzly Spectacle is one that mills
A certain number, yeah.
their power. But what's another one? Maybe is Grizzly Spectacle the unique one?
I'm trying to think. Because they did Destroy the Evidence and Doorkeeper both in the last set, and Crosstown Courier, Chronic Flooding. So there are ones that are just specific number, but I think they only did. I feel like Grizzly Spectacle might be the only one that is a specific number in this set, and then they did
That's interesting.
all grind for the rest.
But Consuming Aberration, I love playing this card. Absolutely love it, and it's always a worthy 5-drop in my opinion. Hold on, I'm gonna turn my phone off real quick because it just keeps vibrating and being annoying. So I'm gonna turn off the volume here. All right, volume is off. So Consuming Aberration, I'd love to windmill slam this first pick, and I've done it before, and it just, you know, the funny thing is, it beats your opponent so badly either way you look at it. Whether it's milling them out and you get to see their whole deck, or you're beating them down with like a huge fatty. It's just a really, really fun card to play. Probably one of the most fun rares you can play in this format.
Yeah, it's good. It's fun. I don't know.
Not sold on it?
I like it a lot, and it wins games. It's not my favorite card to play, though. I don't know.
Well, let's say the shortcomings. The shortcomings are if they don't have any cards in their graveyard, you can't even play him.
Yeah.
He's literally a star. But if you have any sort of removal, if you have any, this is gonna play worse against tokens probably, because when the tokens die, you're not gonna be able to
generate the value from those. Yeah.
But really, all you have to do is be able to play this card, and then he fuels himself, you know, and he gets huge. I've had him be like 20. I've had him be 20 plus power and toughness before.
Yeah. He gets out of control really quickly.
He really does.
Yeah.
And you never want to see your opponent play him, because then it just starts like revealing your whole deck. And alongside an already like a mill strategy, like if they have a Undercity Informer or Sage's Road Denizen. Sage's Road Denizen actually this is an excellent card to play alongside him. Especially if you already have the Denizen on board, then the Consuming Aberration. Wait, no, the Consuming Aberration would still die if they didn't have any cards in their graveyard.
Yeah. You'd have to play a card between them, which is very possible.
I didn't think about that though, but that's important to note because I'm sure someone's made that mistake before. You know that someone's made that mistake. All right, so the next card is Death Cult Rogue. 1 colorless and then 2 hybrid black and blue. And it's 2/2 human rogue, and it can't be blocked except by rogues. What do you think? What do you think?
I like it.
I like it too.
Don't know really what else to say. I mean, Phantom Warrior is good. People
It's going to be good in Golgari.
Yeah.
You're going to be scavenging onto your can't be blocked except by rogues. And how many rogues are there even in Return to Ravnica? There's probably less than there are in this set.
Well, which sets would have them? Probably, I think Decoy is a rogue. Golgari Decoy is a rogue.
I suppose we can look. We're going to take a peek real quick here. Just look up types from Return to Ravnica. The rogues are Fairy Imposter, Tavern Swindler, Stealer of Secrets, Vyashno Racketeer, Decoy, and Jailbreaker. So it actually looks like
Jailbreaker is probably the biggest pain.
So there is actually a significant amount of rogues.
And they're all 2 power, so they would all trade with it.
Interesting. I'd forgotten that Stealer was a rogue and Swindler, so there's actually quite a few rogues in Return of Ravnica. I was wrong. So I'm not sure. You're probably not going to be able to do the Death Call Rogue strategy as much in full block, since you're not going to just, you're obviously not going to see as much. That's the interesting thing about full block. You really can't do a strategy based on one card, because you're just not going to see enough of it. So you're really going to have a diverse deck most of the time. But that's cool. That's interesting. You're going to have some more unique.
It's been a while since we've actually had a full block to do a draft with, too.
Because Avacyn Restored was drafted by itself, and then New Phyrexia.
Well, that whole block was drafted together, but it's been over a year now. Like, almost 2, right?
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why we're so excited for it.
Yeah.
Because we got all the way through Innistrad block, then there was M13, and now we're just starting to build into full block again. So that's cool. But yeah, Death Cult Rogue, pretty early pick. I would say if you're into Mirror, it's like a Windmill Slam. It's one of your most important evasive creatures. And it does consistent damage. Like, I've easily won on the back of Death Cult Rogue many times. Just getting in every turn. Works actually excellent in Orzhov, I've found, because it just gets in alongside Extort.
Yeah.
And that adds up, like, super fast. It really becomes a fast clock. All you got to do is be playing spells like Gutter Skulk and just still getting in with your Rogue, extorting. It's like a lightning bolt every turn at that point. Plus, like we said earlier, Shadow Slice on this thing is absolutely insane. I've had it do 13 damage in 2 turns. That's how easy it is. Get in for 8 the first turn, 5 the next turn, and it's over. So, Death Call Rogue, very good. Except when they have Undercity Informers or any of the rogues from, I guess, Return to Ravnica now. Dinrova Horror, the next card. 4 colors, a blue and a black. 4/4 Horror, and when it enters the battlefield, return target permanent to its owner's hand. Then that player discards a card. Good health to you, Gesundheit. When it enters the battlefield, return target permanent to its owner's hand. The player discards the card. Dinrova Horror, cool card. We don't get. I feel like we never play it. Why do we never play this card, Jay?
I feel like it's lackluster. I wish that it was a little better. I wish it was 4/5 or something. Is that too much to ask for a 6-drop?
Maybe, but it's in 2 colors that have inefficient creatures.
Then it should be 3 power and have evasion of some sort.
I can see that. So if it was like a 3/4...
It should have like Island Walk and Swamp Walk or something like that.
What's the flavor of it supposed to... Oh, it's a horror. And horrors typically... Do horrors typically do discard effects? Or do they have powerful effects?
They're all over the place, actually.
Alright, they're all any rarity?
They usually have discard effects, like, I guess to an extent. I mean, Consuming Aberration's a horror. This is a horror. There was Hidden Horror, which made you discard a creature card from your hand. But there's been a lot of other horrors too. A lot of Phyrexian creatures were horrors, and they just have a lot of different abilities.
But I've seen Dinrova Horror do some nasty stuff, and the obvious perk of it, if they have 0 cards in hand,
it's like a removal.
It's a kill spell. It's a 6-mana 4/4 kill.
And it is target permanent, so
it's like an
expensive
Necrotal. And at worst, this is the way I look at it and why I think it's a good card. It is 1 more mana than Void Wielder, but it does a similar, more powerful effect. And you get 3 power on top of that. So the question is, the difference between a 5-mana 1/4 that bounces in monocolor, or 6-mana 2-color spell, 3 additional power, and they have to discard. So it's like 2 perks you get for that extra mana, but you have to pay an extra color too. So it's pretty balanced with Void Wielder, in my opinion. And this doubles as a way to because Void Wielder couldn't really kill your opponent, but this card can. Duskmantle Guildmage is the next card. 1 blue, 1 black, 2/2 human wizard, and it's got 1 colorless, a blue and a black. Whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere this turn, that player loses 1 life, and it has 2 colorless, a blue and a black. Target player puts top 2 cards of his or library into his or graveyard. So 7 mana for a very, very poor engine, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
To make them lose 2 and mill 2. This is one of the weaker guild mages.
What did they not want the abilities to be used together? Is that their plan? Because
they should have made it.
Job.
It does feel like it should have been 3 mana mill 2. Because what was Ambassador Liquatus?
It was 3 mana mill 3, I thought.
Yeah. So this
3
is
colorless mill 3. And he was a 1/3.
And he was a sick card in limited.
Yeah.
But this would be 3 mana. It should have been 3 mana mill 2. They lose 2 for 6 mana. That's really not
6 mana they mill 4. That's not even that impressive. But 8 mana they mill 4 is like unusable. You know.
So that is like a definite shortcoming of Dusk Mantle Go Mage. In addition to that, it's difficult to. I guess it works pretty well with grind.
Illusionist Braces.
Yeah, I guess that's cool. But I was thinking like Undercity Informer. You can do like, if you were feeling hot and you had enough mana, you could be like, play its first ability, sack your team.
That's true.
Potentially make them lose just a ton.
But that's just it. You're not using his second ability at all. It's the same thing as Nivek's Guild Mage. It's like, I can use this first ability sometimes, and then the second ability... I mean, you can use the second ability, but it's not your strategy. You're doing it like as a tack on at the end of it all, you know?
Yeah. So maybe this is the worst Guild Mage? Worse than Nivek?
Could be.
I think I like... I 100% like Nivek's more than this guy.
Yeah.
This one is too narrow of a strategy to use effectively.
And it doesn't even work well together.
So Dusk
7
Mantle...
mana is too much for 2 life and 2 cards.
If you're into Mirror, it's playable as a bear, and I like that it rewards you. Guild Mages are always good because they reward you for they're an excellent mana sink.
Mm-hmm.
So this one, maybe not the best mana sink, but I like that it randomly plays well. You know, it plays well with cards into Mirror. It plays well with Death's Approach. It plays well with White of Precinct 6. Plays well with Consuming Aberration. Plays alongside Sage's Road Denizen, you know, helping you mill more. So yeah, it does that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But probably the worst Guild Mage still. Duskmantle Seer. This is interesting because I've never drafted this card either.
Never seen it.
2 colorless, a blue and a black for a 4/4 vampire wizard with flying, and at the beginning of your upkeep, each player reveals the top card of his or her library, loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost, then puts it into his or her hand. Interesting card. Will obviously punish your opponent if they have a high mana curve deck. More so than it should you. But if you're playing it, you better hope you have a low mana curve deck. And then you can't always get away with that.
Yeah.
So it's, I guess in that respect, it's dangerous because there's just a random aspect to it, and random cards in general are dangerous to play. But you really can't argue a 4-mana 4/4 flying in Dimir, the Cypher guild.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? Would you slam first pick this, or would you debate it?
I'd probably take it first pick. It's just that strong.
And just hope you don't end up playing any 7 drops.
Yeah. It's a 4/4 for 4 flying, like you said. There's plenty of 3 drops and cheap creature, 3 or less drops in Dimir also.
Does 10 damage with Shadow Slice. It's
pretty strong, yeah.
I like it. I've yet to see it, but I think you're right. I think I'd probably pick it over removal. That's pretty damn efficient for blue-black especially. All right, Lazov Dimir Mastermind, 2 blue, 2 black for a legendary shapeshifter, 3/3. It's got hexproof. Whenever a creature card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, you may have Lazov become a copy of that card, except its name is still Lazov, and it's legendary, and it gains hexproof from this ability. Cool card. Don't like it in limited. I've tried it a couple times. I've played against it. I've actually lost against it in limited, but I've also beat it. And I think a lot of the time it's just a very hard to cast Hill Giant.
Yeah.
It's too difficult to... basically what you're saying is you're banking on your opponent to have really good creatures in their deck.
Mm-hmm.
So you can upgrade your 3/3.
Yeah,
you know?
And it doesn't happen that often.
No, it doesn't. I've stolen bombs before, but it's rare.
Yeah, and you can never change them back to just being a base 3/3 either.
Yeah. So sometimes it's like, do I turn them into this Shamble Shard and build them up? You know?
Or like Adaptive Snapjaw, it's like...
Kind of, yeah. So he's got some shortcomings to him. I overall, I don't like Lazov. I don't recommend playing him. I think
Not
he's,
limited, no.
No, I think he's not that good. He's got hexproof, so he does wear, aura as well. Gift of Orzhov, 4 mana, or 4/4 flyer, lifelink hexproof.
That's really strong.
It is, but I don't think his ability's that amazing. Wears Cipher well, I guess, but he doesn't have any evasion himself, so I don't know. I don't think he's a Windmill Slam first pick very often. And he's only worth about a ticket online, so not even worth really a value draft. Mortis Strider, the next card. 1 colorless, a blue and a black for a 1/1 skeleton creature. And when it dies, return it to its owner's hand. So this has random synergies with cards like Sage's Road Denizen, Undercity Informer. What are some other ones? I guess kind of Shadow Alley Denizen, but usually you don't play Shadow Alley Denizen. But works very well alongside Undercity Informer and Sage's Road Denizen.
Yeah.
Maybe even Cartel Aristocrat in Esper.
To an extent.
It's worthwhile. It rewards you.
3 mana, though. It's kind of expensive.
But if you ever have Undercity Informer and Sage's Road Denizen, Mortis Strider is like the best card you could have.
Yeah.
Because then it's like grind, return it, play it, mill 2.
Yeah. So it's, grind plus mill 2 for 4 mana, pretty much.
That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that a lot. But, I mean, let's face it, most of the time it's a turd. It's a 3 mana 1/1. It's clunky to play. Doesn't trade with anything. It's a very narrow niche card.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be unhappy if I was ever playing more than one, I think. Unless you're like a 5 Sage's Road Denizen deck. Then I can actually see that being reasonable, I guess. But I don't like Mortis Strider, and it goes super late. I guess it's actually cool alongside Scavenge. Because even if they kill it, you just keep bringing it back.
And get to scavenge on it again.
So you're always gonna you're always gonna have a scavenge target.
I suppose.
It's not great, but it's a reason to do it.
Good with Karaz to Guild Mage.
For Intimidate? Or, sacking, and I guess you can go infinite with that, but
Not really
it's
infinite,
expensive.
It's expensive.
Way too expensive. Alright, Nightveil Spectre is the next card. It's 3 hybrid black and blue for a 2/3 Spectre with flying. When it deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top card of his or her library. You may play cards exiled with Nightveil Spectre. Fun card, cool card. How do you feel about first picking it? Because it's fairly color intensive.
It's okay, I guess. If you want to push Dimir, 2/3 flyer for 3 is pretty strong.
Do you think it's pretty restrictive because it's 3, even though it's hybrid? 3 colored hybrid spells?
Yeah.
Like
it's
how
similar
hard
to Boros Reckoner, I guess.
Yeah, how hard is it going to punish you for going 3 color, I guess?
In limited, probably not that badly. I mean, if you're splashing your 3rd color instead of blue and black are your main, probably won't punish you too hard. It's really similar to like Rebel Belt Raiders, Boros Reckoner. You need to be in that color, but as one in your deck, it's not like you're gonna see it in your opening hand every game.
Yeah. But if you're in Dimir, it's awesome that it's got evasion.
Mm-hmm.
That's truly the sign of a good Dimir card. If it has the built-in evasion, excellent with Dimir. It's going to work with all those sorcery cipher spells.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're on to Gruul multicolor spells now, and this is Borborygmos Enraged. So he's 4 colorless, 2 red, 2 green, just 8 mana, 7/6 Trampler, legendary Cyclops. And do you know the stats on the old Borborygmos? So
6/7 trample.
Oh, interesting. They flipped the power and toughness.
Mm-hmm.
But when this deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top 3 cards of your library, put all land cards revealed this way into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard, and you get to discard a land card, and he deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Really cool spell. I think we've played it once, maybe?
I don't even know that we've gotten it off, though.
In a ramp deck, never gotten it off. Never played it in a limited game. I just played against it in Commander, got wrecked by it, alongside a bunch of mana searching stuff like Borderland Ranger, Civic Wayfinder, Mulch, and
Renaissance.
Pilgrim's Eye, and then he finally topped it all off with Praetor's Council. So once he like discarded all the lands, got them all back again. So that was pretty filthy. I probably killed Borborygmos 4 times, and he still managed to pay the. I think one time he let it go to the graveyard so he could.
Bring it back.
Yeah, he brought it back with the Praetor's Council. So that was a good move on his part, but pretty difficult to play in limited. For that reason, you're not going to be first picking it. It's not worth that many tickets either. But it's a cool card, and I think it's strong. If you were a ramp deck, if I was in a ramp deck, I'd absolutely play it. Can you kill yourself with it? Is that because you do have to put the rest into your graveyard? So it is a form of like self-mill as well.
Oh yeah, it is.
So you have to be
But
careful.
it's only combat damage.
Yeah.
So if you're that low, you can just leave them back on defense and bolt them every time you draw a land.
It's not a May though, is it?
Yeah, you have to do it.
Yeah, unfortunately. But that's okay. It's a super strong card. Borborygmos is cool. I guess if it's that late where if you play it and you only have like 11 cards left in your library, he can be a problem, I guess, a liability. So I guess he's a difficult.
But he has to
card
hit
play.
them.
True.
So like if they're trying to save themselves, and then if he does hit them and you draw a couple lands,
Then they're just
6
dead.
more damage to them.
I guess the point is you probably shouldn't have to hit them more than once.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
it before it just says killed them.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's true. Okay, the next card is Burning Tree Emissary. 2 hybrid green and red for a 2/2 human shaman, and when it enters the battlefield, you add a green and a red mana to your mana pool. Awesome card, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I super underrated this card because I was like, see, in my mind, I thought at best it's a bear. What's so good about that? But there's some times where it just ramps you too much. I actually, if you've seen my green-white humans list for standard, I just tried this card in there recently. I'm shocked I didn't try this earlier. It actually it's way more insane than I was giving it credit for. Because I was just playing some solitaire on MTGO. I added 4 Burning Tree Emissary, and I added 2 Hamlet Captains. So it was like turn 1 Champ of the Parish with a Cavern of Souls, turn 2 Emissary. I had like turn 2 Emissary, Emissary, Mayor. And you had like, it just gets like ridiculous
Yeah,
with Champ of
2
the Parish.
treasuries.
Yeah. And your 5/5 Champ.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So it's
That's
just like,
crazy.
it's like lethal on turn 4. I was getting lethal on turn 4 pretty consistently, all with the help of Burning Tree Shaman. And even though I have no use for red mana, the reason it paid off so hard is both Mayor and Hamlet Captain were things to ramp into. But additionally, Silver Inlaid Dagger, which is like colorless mana to use.
Yeah.
So it's even then it's like, let's say turn 1 Silver Inlaid Dagger, turn 2 Shaman Equip.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's pretty strong too.
So then you have your 5/2 on turn 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like Shaman or Emissary, which is a Shaman. But what do you think about modern Shaman deck maybe too? Actually, now that I think about it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Alongside like your Boss Banneret or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Shaman Banneret,
Shaman Banneret.
or Rage Forger. So you could be like turn 2 Banneret, turn 3 Emissary Rage Forger. That would be really cool.
Couldn't you do Emissary Banneret Rage Forger even?
Yeah, you're right. You could. That's sick.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good plays with it.
Yeah. So it ramps insanely fast, and now that kind of makes me want to re-explore modern Shaman deck.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. But yeah, Emissary's sweet, and I like it a lot. And I think you could pick it, probably not first pick it, but maybe third, fourth pick, second, third, fourth pick. I've had it take games over in limited easily. I've seen turn 2 Emissary, Scarred Guildmage, really strong play.
Mm.
You know, I like it. So Emissary is very strong, good bear, cool cards. All right, next is Gore Clan Rampager. And I've argued this is probably one of the best Gruul creatures. It's 2 colorless, a red and a green for a 4/4 beast with trample, and has Blood Rush. For 2 mana, a green and a red. And it gives +4/+4 and trample. I've had it in multiples. I love this card. So phenomenally costed on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
Both the Blood Rush and the converted mana cost are extremely efficient. Would you say probably one of the best Blood Rushers?
I think it is the best one.
I think it might be the best one. It's actually the only one I know of that has seen constructed play.
Mm-hmm.
So really cool card. Alright, next is Gruul Rage Beast. 5 colorless, green and a red for a 6/6 beast. When it enters a battlefield or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, those creatures fight target creature an opponent controls. So Rage Beast typically gets to kill something on its own. I used to argue that this card can be a liability, which is true, but I think it's the positives outweigh the negatives on this card quite a bit. And I think we've played it together before. It is 7 mana, so it's expensive, but
it's so strong.
it's like a removal spell plus a creature for 7 mana, so it is very strong. How early of a pick do you think it would be?
7-drop again, so I mean,
yeah, I guess you picked the cheaper removal over top of it.
Yeah,
that's really how it goes. What do you think of like populate alongside it or something?
For what? What effect?
Just like instant speed fights.
Oh, like that? You only have eyes on this guy that are instant speed.
Vijukazi Go Mage, I guess.
I suppose, yeah. That could work.
But, yeah, I guess too expensive for like a Rakdos shell. I guess 7 mana is just too expensive in general. It's tough to make work. Alright, next is Rubble Belt Raiders. 1 colorless, 3 hybrid green and red for a 3/3 human warrior. When it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it for each attacking creature you control. I like this card a lot. If you can play it, I recommend it. It's going to be excellent in Rakdos, in full block. It's going to be excellent in Izzet too, I'm sure. I really like it in Simic. I like it in Gruul, obviously, but in Simic even, because you're getting +1/+1 counters, which obviously the guild works with, you know, like think about this with like Crown Ceratok.
Or Zamek Guildmage.
Yeah. Or Sapphire Drake. So, very, very strong card. And keep in mind, it gets its own, it's going to attack the first turn at least at 4/4. So it's a 4 mana attacking at 4/4, which is good in itself. But then it only gets bigger from there and crazier. And if you already have a bunch of creatures, I'm sure it just gets out of control.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have any evasion. It doesn't have any trample. So
needs support, but it's good.
Something to keep in mind about Rubble Belt Raiders. But in terms of like first pick, I think it's a first pickable card. Absolutely. It takes games over. It just builds itself. Next card is Rubble Hulk. 6 mana, so 4, a red and a green for an elemental, star elemental, and its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. And it has Blood Rush for 3, and they get +X/+X, or X the number of lands you control. So it's pretty efficient Blood Rush, in my opinion. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And certainly, how about in terms of first pickable?
Yeah, probably.
You think you like it more? I think it's bangy enough where I want it more than the 2-drop removal spell, I think. Because Rubble Hulk is usually an insane amount of damage. Surprise. I mean, it's surprised the first time. They probably don't fall for it again, but I've seen it do an additional like 6 damage, and it's out of nowhere. I mean, you never account for the math on that one, and it can do a lot. I mean, I guess arguably it's almost similar to Xertos Wine. So maybe Rubble Hulk has been not as good as we thought it was. And think about it and compare it straight up to Xertos Wine, which we're coming to. You know what I mean? It's like a 1 mana more. It potentially is bigger. It's the same Blood Rush. I think I'd almost
likely is bigger as Rubble Hulk. Like at 6 power. Or 6 casting cost.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I'd almost rather pay 5 for a 5/4 and I have the consistency of 3 mana +5/+4. I guess. I don't know. But Rubble Hulk's pretty good. Actually, just putting it in that perspective almost makes me think I don't like it that much as a first drop or a first pick. So I guess I don't know, kind of redecided a little bit. We've won with it before though, so it is strong. I will say that.
It's a better creature by itself than Xerta is.
Yeah. I might like Xerta pretty close to the same though. And since Xerta is a common, it makes me feel a little bit more skeptical about Rubble Hulk. being a slam first pick, at least. I think it's a great card, just in terms of being a slam first pick. Ruination Worm is the next card. 4 colorless, a red and a green for a 7/6 worm. That's all, but that's usually enough. We've played them in the mid-range ramp deck, and they're an excellent way to top out. It's pretty tough to deal with them. Cheaper Scaled Worm by a whole 2 mana.
Yeah.
Come a long way since Ice Age.
Yeah, I'd say.
Scaled Worm was a good card during the time of Ice Age too, wasn't it?
It was okay. It was a good limited card, I'm sure.
Did you get to 8 mana? I'm sure you
Limited?
did.
Yes. Yes.
Because I'd like to know what those draft decks were like. Were people still playing 20 lands? They're like, do we still do 20? Because if you remember old Magic, 20 lands was the rule. I thought it was like the rule. Like, I didn't see decks that had more or less than 20 lands. That was just what we played.
Mm-hmm.
Early Magic was like, oh, 20 lands, 40 cards, obviously. And you could have like 6 and 7 drops and you weren't even
phased by it.
Yeah. Just idiots. Just Mana Screw is rampant. But Ruination Worm is a good card. I mean, it's more for the mid-range. If you're aggressive, you don't want to be playing it.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, sometimes you can see it middle, but the Verdant Haven deck will reward you a lot for playing Ruination Worm if you see it at the right time. Scarred Guildmage, the next card, and this is probably one of the better ones from Gatecrash. I'm trying to think what's better than it. Which Guildmage should we like more? Probably the Sunhome. Maybe. They're pretty equal. Maybe Sunhome I like more. Scarred Guildmage, though, is a green and a red for a 2/2 human shaman, and gives your creatures, for 2 mana, it gives creatures you control trample, and for 3 mana, target land you control becomes a 4/4 elemental creature. And the thing to keep in mind with the 4/4 elemental creature is you really need 4 lands to make that work, or else you're not going to be able to attack with your 4/4 or block. So really, it's more like 4 lands are going to be occupied to use that ability. But alternatively, if you have 8 lands, you can get 2 4/4s. What do you think about Scarred Guildmage?
He's strong. I like him. Having 4/4s on your side is always good, and a Guildmage that just brings them out constantly.
Does he seem too clunky sometimes?
A little bit, but the trample is relevant with all the big creatures that don't have trample in Gruul. Zertos Swine. Rebel Hulk.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Worm.
Yeah. Is he going to be any better with full block?
Probably good in Rakdos with trample.
Mm-hmm.
And actually making lands creatures.
Good with Scavenge once again,
Mm-hmm.
giving the trample. Is there any ramp spells in Return to Ravnica Farseek? Is that in? That's not.
Gate Creeper Vine and Axebane Guardian are like.
Or at least ways to get some more land, yeah. So I guess that works. So yeah, Scarred Guildmage pretty good. Pretty early pick. Next card is Zertos Swine. This is 3 colorless, a red and a green for a 5/4 boar. It has Blood Rush for 3. We were just talking about it a little bit earlier. I just realized this card is pretty similar to Rebel Hulk, actually. I feel like, in terms of power level most of the time. So for that reason, I like Zertos Swine, and you typically pick it like, I don't know, 4th or 5th pick or something, right? But Rebel Hulk may not be a slam first pick, in my opinion, because it's close to Zertos Swine. So if you see 2-drop removal, I think I'd rather pick that. I think I'd rather pick that than Rebel Hulk. We're looking at about an hour and 51 minutes right now. We could go into the Boros multicolor. Maybe we just want to hold off on that till next week and start our draft.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're going to do a little draft then. I'm going to make sure everything's... Yep, okay. Let's get our magic going here. And I think this time around our plan is we're going to record the draft, and then we're going to record the matches as part of a draft video as well. So you will be able to see the matches for this one. And the drafting process during this podcast. You will at least be able to listen to it. So we're going to start a draft here. We're still in the process of starting a new podcast. I just wanted you guys to be aware of that. Called Cult Classic Countdown. We recorded our first one, but we had some audio issues, unfortunately. So I think we're going to have to re-record it. I'm not sure if we're going to use it yet or not, but that's going to be a new weekly podcast that I'd like to start doing. Oh, wow, Draft Slam started out of nowhere. All right, so we've got some. All right, first pick, the rare is Hellkite Tyrant, who's an awesome card. There's also Urbis Protector, Bane Alley Broker, Drakewing Krasis, Ember Beast. Those are all cards to keep in mind. I think the Tyrant is probably worthy of a first pick. We're not passing too much of a red signal beyond a Scorchwalker and an Ember Beast. Could also take the Krasis, which is one of the better cards that you can get in for Simic. So I'm not exactly sure. Hellkite Tyrant or Drakewing Krasis. I guess Hellkite Tyrant's a little more exciting. It's a pretty strong card. It is 6 mana, but I think it's strong enough. It takes the game over enough where I want it here. It's a mythic. It's not that the ability itself is that great, but the fact that it's a flying trampler, it's just very efficiently costed. It's a worthy 6-drop. I'm going to take it. Alright, next we have a foil pit fight. We also have ground assault, fire fist striker, Wojak halberdiers, syndic of tithes. We're definitely either taking the ground assault or the pit fight, and I think I actually like the ground assault more. Pit fight requires you to have creatures, so the reason that I would like pit fight more is that it works better alongside active treason, which is already in red, which we'd like to play. But ground assault is just very good. I could take fire fist striker and stay open to Boros, but then I would rather just take syndic or Wojak halberdiers. So I think I'm just going to take the ground assault here, move into Gruul a little bit more, and it's unfortunate we're passing the pit fight and the other red creature, but I think that's okay. Ground assault is very, very strong. All right, third pick. I have some good choices here. We have Mugging, Cinder Elemental. There's also Smite, Hands of Binding. Just naming all the best cards, but definitely the best cards that appears are in red. So what do you think here? I already have a Hellkite Tyrant and a Ground Assault. And
I like the Mugging, I guess.
I kind of feel like the Mugging over the Cinder Elemental too. Cinder Elemental is more... Cinder Elemental is going to be better if we end up with a ton of cheap creatures, because then it's like a just way to take them out. But Mugging is such an efficiently costed removal spell, and I think it's good enough. I think you're right. I think we take it over the clunkiness of Cinder Elemental. Cinder Elemental has much more potential, but Mugging is just more consistency. And based on this Hellkite Tyrant, I want some consistency. Alright, here we have the choice between Aetherize, Burst of Strength, Gruul Guildgate. I'm not opposed to the Burst here. It's a pretty excellent trick. Could also do the Guildgate, leave us more open to like a Simic or Boros with Gruul. Possibly just splash in the Ground Assault even. For that reason, Aetherize might be a worthy pick. But Burst of Strength is a good trick. And moving deeper into green, I'm certainly not opposed to. I like Gruul. Alright, we're going to take the Burst of Strength. Alright, well, we were just talking about it. We have Scar Goliath. There's also Vyashno Shanktail. That's about it for what's on color with what we've got. I think you're right. We'd probably take the Shanktail over the Scar Goliath. Scar Goliath's just a little too pricey. Shanktail's very good with Burst of Strength.
Yeah, we already have a 6-drop.
So far on a good path. Just waiting for our next pick here. Alright. Ruination Worm, Greenside Watcher. That's about it. I think we take the Watcher.
I do too.
It's a 2-drop. It's early enough where we could find some guild gates. Nothing else of note really in this pack. Incursion Specialist. Good for Dimir. Decent for Simic.
Disciple.
Alright, now we have the choice between Disciple of the Old Ways or Boros Guildgate. I think because we're Gruul, I think we pretty much have to slam the Disciple. I think you're right. I would have liked the Boros Guildgate. And also there's Mark for Death in this pack, which we've played before and won with. So Mark for Death's actually a reasonable card as well. But we're going to take the bear. More 2-drops, the better. Alright, now it's just Thunder Fist or Scab Clan Charger. Yeah, I think it's probably just the Charger.
This pack's crazy black.
Yeah, it's got Gift of Orzhova, Death's Approach, and
that
Death
is the
Cult Rig.
latest Gift of Orzhova I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm never happy to play against that, but you know, this time around we actually have decent removal.
Yeah,
So
Scab Clan Charger is probably the best then.
I like Charger quite a bit. Alright, now it's Naturalize or Skullcrack. I don't see it being very likely we play the Skullcrack, so I think doing the Naturalize is going to just be a better sideboard card. It's not very likely I'm main decking Skullcrack. I typically don't. And I'd like to have a Naturalize in case there's well, it's good against Gift. So there is that.
Yeah, Rust Scarab's good too.
Rust Scarab.
Rust Scarab.
So far we've got a decent looking deck. Got the Hellkite Tyrant from Scab Clan. Ooh, alright, now we've got Adaptive Snapjaw. I think we'll just slam that little bad boy. Not much else in the pick. Hindervines, Bioshift, Way the Thief. Alright, now we've got a choice between Spell Rupture, Merfolk of the Depths. I think we'll do Spell Rupture in case we're rugged. It's not likely that we are rugged, but just in case. I guess I'm just cutting more red. So, I think hopefully we've established enough pack one that we want to be in Gruul. I think we did a decent job of that. But you're right, that was some late black picks that kind of confused me. So there's a chance that we're competing with someone here.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that all of those black cards made it back. I think there was a Death Cult Rogue and a Gift in that pack too. 9
playables from 15 cards though, and 9 playables I'm happy with. I think I'm satisfied with that as pack one. I'm not going to be brokenhearted if we end up having to go into a third color. Alright, so we're on to pack 2. We have Gruul Guildgate, Ember Beast, Mining Slime, Drakewind Krasis also in here if we wanted to move into Rug. I still don't think we need to. I'm not opposed to taking Ember Beast, staying straight Gruul. And I tend to like Ember Beast quite a bit.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
It's good.
It's going to reward us more if we find a pit fight, possibly.
Yeah.
So, Ember Beast, not the most exciting first pick, but not bad. There was also Biomass Mutation was the rare, and that's a reasonable card, but I don't know if I want to first pick it. Alright, pack 2, we have the choice between Simic Guildgate, Simic Flux Mage, Ooze Flux, Burst of Strength. We could take the Guildgate here, and then be open to Blue Splash. How do you feel about that?
Well, we already have the Green Side Watchers, so I'd like to get at least one gate.
Let's take the Simic Guildgate. We're going to play it even if we don't play blue. Just for the Watcher. Or, yeah, the Watcher. Kind of an unexciting second pick, but there really wasn't that much for us otherwise. Ooze Flux not that great in here. We don't have enough Evolve to support it.
You really want the, like, Cloudfin Raptor if you're doing Ooze Flux, because it evolves over and over again just off of removing one counter from it.
Yeah, it's really good. It's like a 2-mana, it's an excellent 2-mana sink that you can just, a reusable 2-mana mana sink. It's very good. Alright.
Experiment 1?
Third pick, we've got Experiment 1, another Disciple. I think you're right. I think we're definitely good with Experiment 1 here. Possibly table the Mark for Death or the Simic Guildgate, both of which would be satisfactory. So Experiment 1, happy to pick that. Alright, fourth pick, we have Xertos Swine, Prophetic Prism, Boros Guildgate, Simic Flux Mage as well. I think Xertos Swine is in order here. It's an excellent Gruul card. I think we've pushed enough where we may even be able to just stay straight Gruul. I'd still be willing to splash for a bomb Simic card. I'm trying to think of one.
Biomass, if it comes back.
Maybe even, is it Hands of Binding worthy of splash? We don't have enough evasion really to make that work, I guess.
Not really.
And, but we've picked up a lot of creatures so far, and they're all very, very good. They're all the top tier or close to. Just waiting. Oh, all right, next pick. All right, interesting. There's Simic Charm, which may actually be worth the splash. Stops auras.
Did we already pick up an Aetherize too?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
It gives hexproof. I think I'd like the charm more though, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that over the second Snapjaw here? I think it's probably worthwhile, right? There's enough upside to playing Simic Charm where it's worth a splash, in my opinion. All three abilities are very relevant. Hexproof, it's like screw your removal. I'm a combat trick. Bounce your creature, get rid of your aura. Probably right next to Boros Charm in terms of best.
Or remove Cipher from something.
Yeah. Probably best charm in this set, right alongside Boros Charm. Boros Charm might be slightly better because of the indestructible. But I've used it as a nuke with Extort too, and it's insane. All right. A Mugging, Skinbrand Goblin, Nimbus Swimmer.
Do we need the second Skinbrand?
I think
Skinbrand Goblin.
Skinbrand's good. I think you're right. I think we take the Mugging.
Yeah. Okay.
Your first inclination, I think, was correct. I kind of like that. Mind Eye Drake would have been cool too, and like you said, Skinbrand Goblin would have made me. I would have taken the Goblin probably before the Swimmer, but Mugging is good.
Ember Beast.
All right, there's also Gruul Rage Beast, Ember Beast, and another Simic Guild Gate. This could be a Rage Beast deck. It's good with Swine, Tyrant, Ember Beast so far. Scabplant Charger even, to a certain extent. Do we not take it because it's 7 and we'd rather just have the consistency of the Ember Beast? It's a legitimate question.
If we can pick up enough earlier game stuff, then maybe we don't need the Rage Beast, but...
Rage Beast is very good.
Mm-hmm.
He is 7 mana. Running out of time, I think I'm just going to take the Ember Beast, because I can't decide on a 7-drop yet. I feel like I'd rather have the 3-drop efficient creature right now. Alright, the next pack, all there really is for us is another Burst of Strength, which I'm happy to take. There's also Syndicate Enforcer, Corpse Blockade, and Shadow Slice, and a Duskmantle Guildmage in here. So, more black. It does appear that black is open, but we still haven't had a hard time finding spells. We could take the Biomass Mutation here. I'm not opposed to that. Could also take Wildwood Rebirth, but our Blood Rush is exclusively Scabland Charger, Shanktail, and Swine, which might be enough. But I think Biomass Mutation's decent. Possibly play it. Oozeflux or triple Burst of Strength. I think we can go another burst, actually. We can be a 16 land deck. Wow, we managed to table Disciple of the Old Ways. So this pack has Disciple and Urban Evolution. And Urban Evolution's cool, but yeah, we want 2-drops for sure, with Burst especially.
Yeah.
Burst alongside a first strike creature. Clearly good.
Let's take the Shadow Alley then.
We're going to hate a Shadow Alley instead of taking a Merfolk of the Depths, because Merfolk of the Depths no good. I'll take Last Thoughts. Not likely we're splashing it. And second to last pick, Frenzied Tilling, is kind of funny.
It is.
So we ended up, we're definitely going to be able to make this mono color, besides splashing with the Simic Charm, which I think I'd still like to do.
Mono Guild.
But yeah, we look like we have a very nice Gruul shell. Could use some more 2-drop creatures, definitely. But our 1-drop spells are, because we have so many 1-drop spells, I think this is a 16-land deck. Wow, Stolen Identity is our 3rd rare that we've opened, but I don't see us doing that. I think it's really that or Slaughterhorn. There's also another Snapjaw. I think we're just taking the Slaughterhorn. I'm not thrilled about passing Stolen Identity, but it doesn't seem likely that we're going to make that splash work. And we're still in we only have 11 creatures, so I'd rather load up on cheap Gruul creatures now. Really make sure we can get to that point. Alright, second pick, there's Rapid Hybridization, Hands of Binding, Adaptive Snapjaw, Skinbrand Goblin. I think we're just taking the Skinbrand. We're just going to keep getting our 2-drops, filling up on them now. Alright, next we have Krakenura. There's also Warmind Infantry and another Mugging. I think because we're short on creatures, we'll take the Krakenura. We've already talked about how...
almost every one of our guys also evolves them too, it looks like. So.
But additionally, he's just a good creature because he's holds down the fort, and we have a good late game plan already between the Biomass and the Hellkite Tyrant. I would have liked the infantry and the mugging too, but I can't complain about getting Krakenura. It's one of the better ones. All right, now we have Scarred Guildmage, and I think that's just a pick, but also to note there's Gruul Guildgate and Scab Clan Charger in this pack. But yeah, we're just gonna slam a Guildmage. Happy to do that. Okay, now we have Spire Tracer, Simic Key Rune, Prophetic Prism. We could take the Prism.
I could do that.
Also could take the Key Rune, which gets us to our 5 and 6 drops. It also justifies 16 lands better, in my opinion, if we take the Key Rune. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? We could play 16 lands easier with the Simic Key Rune. It also is randomly good with Burst of Strength.
Yeah.
Activate it, block, tap it, untap it.
Then we're doing more of a splash than what we thought we were. If you think you can.
Yeah, I guess that's it. No, that's a good point. So it's Prism or Simic Key Rune, in my opinion. What do you feel? I think I'm actually gonna take the Key Rune for the splash.
You do have Ground Assault too.
Yeah.
There's Gruul Key Rune.
Alright, and we also have Gruul Key Rune now, Ruination Worm, or Triple Disciple. I think with Triple Burst of Strength, we want Triple Disciple. That's my opinion of it. Let's just get another 2-drop. Happy to do that. Those should, actually Biomass is going to play well alongside the Burst of Strength as well. So we have a pretty quick-looking deck. How many Blood Rush have we ended up with so far? Skinbrand, Slaughterhorn, Shanktail, Charger, Swine, 5. Not too much, but a decent amount. And like I said, Evolve and +1/+1 counters are going to make our Biomass mutation much stronger towards the end. All right, the next pack, it doesn't look like there's too much for us. Could take the Dutiful Thrall, because I feel like even though Assault Griffin's better, we're a deck that
more annoying
we're a deck that's going to play better against Assault Griffin.
Yeah.
Because we can just swing in. We're going to be swinging in quick. So a Dutiful Thrall can be annoying. All right, next pick, Naturalize, which we already have. Spell Rupture, which we already have. We also have Last Odds. I think we could take the Key Rune just as like potential rock, but we're not likely to play it. I think it's just a matter of taking it away from opponents. Late we see Frilled Oculus, but I think you're right. I think we're just taking the Snapjaw. There's also Shadow Slice in this pack. We're probably not playing both Snapjaws realistically, but it's nice that the option's available to us. So I'm pretty sure we're still going to be a 16-land deck. We certainly have enough 1 and 2 drops. The Burst of Strengths are going to be really key alongside the Disciples. Probably I'm still splashing the Simic Charm, but I have to look a little bit closer. Because we might even be able to get away with cutting Key Rune and Charm. And maybe Biomass Mutation is less exciting in a 16-land deck as well.
That's kind of what I was wondering.
So we'll see. Third Snapjaw, I don't think so, but I guess I'll take a Righteous Charge. I'll hate it. I'm just not going to sideboard or play another.
Burst?
Wow, we can get a 4th Burst of Strength. Well, I guess we'll do it. That might be too many.
I think it is.
But, wow, table to Gruul Guildgate. Happy to take that. I'll take the Wildwood Rebirth here. We have 5 creatures we can do that. So we're close to, I think this is pretty much drafted at this point. And we have a lot of good options. We didn't end up getting a Pit Fight, which is a little bit disappointing, but still happy we got the Ground Assault. And second Naturalize to the sideboard. 2 Muggings as well. We have good removal and tricks and creatures. So can't ask for more than that. And I'm not regretting my first pick, Hellkite Tyrant. I really still just really like this card. And actually, this card's so much better in Gruul than Boros, in my opinion, because you have the Blood Rush alongside him. Alright, so we're in deck building now. Putting in the Muggings, creatures, playing most of our red spells. We'll put it in the 4 bursts for now. I just want to sort of look, if we didn't play the Simic Charm, what we would look like. So this is 24, which is actually a 16-land deck. So we may not actually, with 17 creatures, yeah, I think we're actually going to bypass the blue splash.
Okay.
Because of how good this looks. we could do quad burst of strength with 17 creatures. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And 16 lands, I feel like
We have
enough benefits.
6 cards that are over
And-
5 are over 4.
And think how jukey we can be, like attacking with the Disciple when we have an Ember Beast out, and then they attack back, and we're like burst,
Mm-hmm.
block.
Yeah, that's true.
So we have some cool stuff. We can burst of strength can abuse the hell out of yeah. I like that a lot. But let's put in our 2 guild gates. Maybe we don't want the Simic one now because we're 2-drop heavy. I think I actually cut the Simic one now. So we're just going to do the Gruul guild gate, and I've decided we're not going to play the Biomass mutation. As cool as it is, I mean, I guess we could cut a burst for it as another like way to win. I guess I'm not opposed to that. Go to 3 bursts of strength just for like a little. Is the word rattlesnake is that good or not? What's the word? Just as a little.
What? Like push him over the edge? I mean,
An additional card that takes over a game. I don't think there's a word for that.
Hmm.
I guess I don't consider Biomass a bomb necessarily, but let's discuss it. So we get 6 mana. We can turn our guys into 4/4s, our evolvers into potential 5/5s and 6/6s. Right? Is that worth it or not? I guess it's not that great alongside
it like
Snapjaw.
reduces the power of Zerta and Hellkite and Snapjaw.
Well, then maybe it's just better to do the burst
I
plan.
think it is. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to stick to the burst of strength plan. Biomass is much better in a straight evolved
deck,
Simic
yeah.
deck, yeah. Okay, so we're much more green than red, which is good because our early green ramp and early green, most of our early stuff is green, which is good. So they want to do 9/6, which would be 10 green, 7 red. I think I'm actually okay with that. That feels reasonable to me. All right, so happy with the deck. I think it looks strong. If you want to watch the matches for this, go to SeemsGoodMagic.com, look under draft videos, and hopefully I'll figure out how to post this. It's going to be a little bit weird, but I think I'll figure it out. It should be all good. And I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Live stream times, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. Central Time. Twitter, follow us on Twitter, at SeemsGoodMagic. That way you know when we're live streaming, you know when I've posted a new draft video, when any new content goes up. Just follow us on Twitter for that stuff. And I'd really like to hear more feedback from you guys. Email me at mortarpod@seemsgoodmagic.com. All right, that's it for this podcast. Still have a little more work to do next week, finishing up everything. I know it's taken us a long time, but I like these tangents we're going off on. I still feel like we're discovering a lot. So, see you guys later. Goodbye.
Bye.